But my beat stay on hard.
All right. Hey, good evening and happy Father's Day. I'm Brian Fulford. That's A.D. Drew. Good to be on with you for another episode, another Sunday night of BCSN SportsWrap. Drew, happy Father's Day to you, my man.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, all the coaches, and everybody who's a father figure. But Brian, got a couple things I want to say. Happy, Jeff Roberts, if you're a father, happy Father's Day to you too. Aggie Pride.
Hold on, stop. See, before you start getting into your rant, because that's what you're already primed and ready. I got to tell people.
We try to stay on time.
I know. I got to give people the backstory because I called Drew up and I'm like, "Hey, Drew, happy Father's Day." Yeah. And I'm like, "Oh hell!" I'm like, "Oh, the kids must have messed up." And already, so Drew's ready to give his Father's Day rant right here at the open of the show. So let me just quickly get out of the way. As Drew just said, hello and happy Father's Day to all the fathers like Drew and the non-fathers like me, but those of us who coach, teach, we are father figures, mentors. So I'm representing that group of people. Drew's representing the other group. Yes, exactly. Why is AD cussing? I know, right? I thought it was because Drew didn't get a good steak or a good gift or even a card. But Drew,
which I hadn't got any of the three.
All right. Well, see, okay, here we go. So I'm gonna lay back and get out of the way. I'm gonna even go full screen. I'm gonna let Drew go full screen here in a second. But go ahead, Drew.
I did get a phone call or a text or a personal visit from everybody who was supposed to say something to me. You know what I'm saying? But I got three things about Father's Day.
All right, here we go.
Number one, this is a man's holiday.
I mean, exactly, men.
No
offense
to any of the single moms out there who do a tremendous job.
Not your day.
Raising their kid.
Right.
On their own, or the others and aunties and everything else. But this is for the males today. No offense to you guys. You guys had your day in May. So you guys had the extra special day because you take on the dual role. But today is for the men. Number one. Number two, Brian. In our over-commercialized world, when you have a sale for everything, I mean, let's think about Christmas. Obviously, Christmas is the most commercial holiday that we have. Easter, Mother's Day. But Brian, it seems like even the trees have more respect than fathers do on Father's Day.
No. Oh, wow.
The environment has more respect on Earth Day than fathers do on Father's Day.
Wow.
You know why I say this, Brian?
I definitely don't.
Because if you go and, Mother's Day, you got people with pop-up shops and everything else. Heck, you can't even go to the grocery store because you can't get past the floral section that they got set up right in the door when you go into Publix on Mother's Day. Father's Day, please.
Missed
There's
it.
only 2 places that you can find a sale for something on Father's Day.
Where's that?
The hardware store and the dollar store.
The dollar store. Wow.
The dollar store. Dollar Tree, Family Dollar, Dollar General, you name it. Somebody dollar. And number 3, on the sports side, Brian. Father's Day signifies the end of your watchable sports on TV for a while, Brian.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're a hockey fan, NHL hockey is coming to a close.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, we got we've got
It's
through 5.
It's coming
so far.
I didn't say it was here. It's coming to a close.
Right. This is the last week is coming up.
NBA is coming to a close.
Someday this week, between now and next Sunday.
If you're a college baseball fan, college baseball is coming
between next weekend. It'll be over. Yeah.
Hey, you even had the UFL to entertain us for the last 3 months.
Ended yesterday.
It's coming to a close. What we got left, Brian? WNBA.
Yeah.
Okay.
The big 3.
It's basketball. The big who? I mean you know something, Brian? Until I saw the fight on social media with Dwight Howard and who was that? He was fighting Lance Stevenson, I think.
No, was it Stevenson? I think it was Stevenson.
Yeah. Until I saw that fight on my timeline, I had even forgot the big 3 had even
and that started. Wasn't really a fight. That was more like a
scuffle.
A scuffle, yeah.
Right. The trade of chicken recipes. Right. But
I'm gonna grab you, you grab me, and let's do the dance. Yeah.
Right. I forgot the big 3 had even started, Brian.
I did too.
We have to suffer as big TV fans until the end of August, Brian. Because I forgot, you got the Major League All-Star game.
Woo!
Yeah, woo. I mean, for us, we got the Swingman Classic. I'll tune into that if I'm not there live, since it is here in Atlanta. We got Wimbledon. I will watch Wimbledon. But probably if Coco lose, I probably cut it off. Golf.
Don't forget Madison Keys now. I mean, just because you got Madison Keys. Come on now.
Okay. You
18-1 quietly. Pro tip. Anybody you got extra little pizza money, I put 18-1 on Madison Keys. Anyway, go ahead.
I mean, and then you got what the US Open, British Open.
No. You got the they call it the Open now. It's just
Open.
The Open.
Yeah,
the Open.
I mean,
that's in July.
No, nobody watches golf unless somebody who you like is in contention in the finals.
Right. Nobody looks like us.
Yeah, Tiger been gone. Tiger gone
for a minute.
We're not watching all 4 rounds. So watchable TV for the sports fan is dry for the next 2 months, Brian. That's the other thing about Father's Day.
All right. Wow. Depressing. Go ahead.
I'm done, man.
Did you get to all 3?
Yeah, I said all 3. It's a man's holiday.
Yeah. Lack of discounts.
You can't find that on sale that we want. And watchable sports TV is dead.
Where can you get a good meal? Like, there used to be a place, like, if you guys in the chats, where are the discount meal spots for Father's Day? Like, where can, like, I gotta
they actually do that, Brian?
Yeah, like, we got a taco place down here called I don't want to give the name of the business. It's a popular joint that I frequent on Tuesdays. Exactly. I frequent them on Tuesdays when it's Taco Tuesday. But they had a buy one entree and get a second entree. Now, I didn't really, look, I've seen that deal come across my app many a times, but somehow it was slid in there as a Father's Day. So I'm just like, where are the Father's Day? Because, they don't really act like, they don't know I don't have no kids. So I will take advantage of this time period like a mug. You know, it's like, hey, can I go get a 10%? Do all men who look like fathers get a deal? You know, whatever. Or you put a Father's Day code in the app when you order. So where can I go and get a good dinner tonight? You know, I'm not going to sit in the restaurant by myself. So I have to get it to go. Where can I go and get a good deal? 10%, 15, 20, 25.
You can always go to the bar, Brian, the restaurant that has a bar, and you can get away with being by yourself. Just don't sit at a table or a booth by yourself. Then you look creepy.
I don't even want to do that. I want to come home and eat. That's why I bought a TV tray. So I can come home and I can sit in front of the TV, Drew. But so if anybody has any suggestions, where can I go and get a discounted meal for Father's Day this evening? I would love to hear. I would love to know. So put that in the chat. Let me know. Where have you guys gone to eat? I know we got some dads and fathers in the chat room. You know, shout out Jeff Roberts, Dr. Israel Carey, WSSU Ram Nation. Happy Father's Day. Carlos Brown checking in. Blue Jacket for Life. Adam Spencer. You know, EA. You guys let me know where can Happy Father's Day to those of you who are dads, fathers, uncles. You know, my sister sent me a text and she was like, hey, you're an uncle, so I'm going to praise you and give you love. And so, yeah, whether we're uncles, you know, those of us who don't have our own kids, hopefully we're somebody's uncle. We're somebody's coach, teacher, mentor, father figure, role model. All of those things kind of apply today. So, you know, again, looking for the hot discount food spot. That's what I'm looking for tonight, Drew, to be honest with you. Yeah. EA says he got breakfast in bed. Okay. Dinner in the man cave, man. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, you living right. See, that's what I'm talking about. The family's taking care of you, man. That's love right there. Peter. EA, see, you're nasty. See, you're dirty. See. I see what you did there. If you know, you know. All right, let me see. Andrew said, daughter took you out to lunch, Texas Road.
You there?
Wait. I'm sorry, Drew. Got distracted because I was on a website that likes to pop up one of those commercials with audio. So I'm sitting here like, where is that audio coming from?
Stop visiting those sites, Ryan.
Well, see, I'm checking. I'm trying to pull up a site for our top story that we were going to lead the show with, Drew. So, see why you being ugly. But yeah, so okay, good stuff. Nice marbled steak, Texas Roadhouse. Yeah, you know, I gotta look and figure out.
Wait. Can I ask the one last question before we jump off?
Okay,
the thing?
Go ahead.
For all the men who were taken out to a restaurant today for Father's Day, who paid the bill?
Oh, come on.
I got to ask these questions, Brian. And every man who has kids know exactly what I'm talking about.
You know what? If you had to go out and pay for the dinner, that's just wrong. That's just wrong.
She may have swiped the card, but whose money was it?
Oh man! All right. Good to see Lawrence.
Israel. Thank you. You raised her right.
Man, all right. Praise God. Look, y'all done raised them right. Right. And you taught them to pay the bill and cover the tip as well. Woo! I tell you, that's nasty work, Drew. If that has happened to you, I apologize. That's just nasty work. All right, let's get into some stuff, Drew, because I want to first off give a shout out and thank everybody for the past week of following, subscribing, liking the various shows on the Black College Sports Network over the past week. We've seen some great numbers, not only on the YouTube page, but also from the BCSN Pod Zone. So that means you guys are checking out the podcast feed on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple and Google Podcasts. You guys are liking, subscribing, rating, reviewing, even just downloading. All of it helps the numbers. So please continue to do that. Please hit the thumbs up and the like button. We continue not just our show, but the other shows across the Black College Sports Network. I've seen some great improved numbers from the Carlos Brown show. That was yesterday. The ONG strikes on Wednesday. And of course, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the 2 different versions of that show. So appreciate everybody who's been a supporter of the JBN. Blue Jacket for Life. Before we get into media days, since you brought that up, I do want to make mention of yesterday, since you brought up the UFL, I want to make mention the win by the DC Defenders in yesterday's game. Did you know the UFL championship was going on yesterday, and did you watch?
I knew it was going on. I did not know what time it was going on because we're so used to the UFL having a game around 1, 2 o'clock locally,
4 o'clock, yeah,
on Saturday, and then a late game around 5, 6 o'clock window. Well, that game didn't start to after 8 to 8 o'clock Eastern time.
8 o'clock.
Yeah. So I lost track of it that it came on, and by the time I turned it on, where it wasn't really that competitive. I caught it right before halftime, maybe about the last 5 minutes of the second quarter. It was halftime, so I did what the average person does. I flipped it off during halftime. Forgot about it. Came back in somewhere at the end of the third quarter. Okay, this is not even worth watching anymore.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm reading right here from HBCU Legends, Kyle Mosley's story here. Shannon Harris set a historic milestone as the DC Defenders defeated the Michigan Panthers in the 2025 UFL Championship. Now, this is the first season that someone, that we've had spring football now for 4 years.
4th year.
This is the 4th year. Although the UFL is just in year 3, but this is the 4th year because I think we had the 1 year where we had the 2 league.
Year 2 of the UFL.
Okay, year 2 I think it's year 3 of the UFL.
They've been combined for 2 years.
Okay.
Then the USFL has its own history. The XFL had its own history.
But in terms of just spring football, this is the 4th overall year.
Right. Since 21.
Okay. So this is the first year that someone other than the Birmingham Stallions who won the UFL last year, they won the XFL the 2 previous years, right? Someone, I don't even know who won the USFL in the previous iteration. But anyway, it feels like a major milestone, not just for the fact that the DC Defenders ended up winning, right? Because DC Defenders came out of that same league with the Stallions, if I'm not mistaken. I think they were both in the XFL. And of course, most notably, Reggie Barlow left them right before the start of the season to take the head coaching job at Tennessee State. Well, his replacement is Shannon Harris. Shannon Harris, who was named the interim coach, is an alum, I believe, of where is he? An alum of Texas Southern or Prairie View, one of the two. I'm reading the article here. Maybe I should just read the article here. He's the interim head coach, became the first HBCU alum to coach a professional football team in the United States to a league championship title. The Defenders dominated the Michigan Panthers, 58-34. The game was played at America Center in St. Louis. I'm sure they were hoping that the Battlehawks would be in that game.
Correct.
But
for the second year in a row that they've hosted it, and the Hawks lose in the semifinals. Semifinals, right. But the UFL championship game MVP and Defenders quarterback Jordan Teamu was like 21 of 28, 390 yards, 4 touchdowns, ran the ball for 29 times, also had a rushing touchdown. Right.
He was ridiculous. Yeah.
Bryan, wrong TSU. It's Tennessee State, not Texas Southern.
I knew it was TSU. All right. Well, okay. Thank you. Tennessee State. And don't forget the Defenders also have Tennessee State alum and college football wide receiver, Hall of Famer, well, future Hall of Famer. I think he was the Black College Football Player of the Year, Chris Rowland. Rowland, who ended up with 5 passes and 45 yards, 3 rushes for 24 yards as well. It was pretty much a significant win for Harris because I think the thing that if you pay attention to sports, Drew, the thing that you might have caught from Harris was his opening season win against the Birmingham Stallions, in which he had a very pointed, he was very direct with the Birmingham Stallions head coach. I think it was Skip Holtz. Again, they were like, they had won the championship or a spring championship 3 consecutive seasons. And Harris had said something in the handshake line or at the end of the game about something that Holtz had said about it being a janitor. I don't know. It was kind of like it was a nice moment for Harris, a viral moment just in general, not quite he ain't swag or, don't hug me, I ain't swag. It wasn't quite Deion. Yeah, it wasn't quite Deion and Eddie Robinson Jr., but still pretty interesting. So, Harris is an alum of Tennessee State, as Drew said. He played quarterback for TSU in the early 2000s. I'm reading the article here from Kyle. One of his best performances took place during a game against Tony Romo, who was, of course, known as a Dallas Cowboy quarterback, but also he played at Eastern Illinois. Actually put up some pretty good numbers when he was at Illinois. So there you go, Drew. Congrats to Coach Harris. Congrats to Chris Rowland. Congrats to the DC Defenders. And you got to say congrats to Coach Barlow, because Barlow had coached the Defenders over the past 4 seasons. So, I mean, he essentially built that team up. Yeah, he essentially was instrumental in building that team to the point where Harris could essentially take over and keep the train going. So, yeah.
I believe there was another HBCU guy
on that Defender squad.
Let me see if I can find it in my notes.
I didn't see anything in the article that I'm reading from Kyle, but maybe I missed it.
All right, but if I find it, I'll make sure I announce it. I have to go back and look at all this stuff I edited out my notes.
Right.
Yeah. While we talking about coaches, Bryan, we had a couple late basketball hires too, Bryan.
All right, so I guess we're done talking about the football and Shannon Harris story. All right.
My bad. I thought you were.
No, we are. Go ahead. What's next? Basketball, late basketball hires. What you got?
We got 2 of them, both on the Division II level, and the one in the CIAA, one in the SIAC. We'll start off with the CIAA. How about Aliko Dunk is now the head coach at Virginia Union University, coming over from Stillman College, and he will be on the women's side. Virginia Union has named Aliko Dunk as the 10th head coach in the history of the VUU women's basketball. Dunk comes to VUU after being the head coach of Stillman College women's basketball program for the last 8 seasons. By the way, this comes from VCSU Sports.com. Last year, the Tigers went 26-6, the most single season wins in the program history, and won the regular season HBCU AC regular season championship. They also picked up a win in the NAIA tournament, and Dunk won 112 games over his 8 seasons with Stillman, which is the most that anybody had won in the last 4 decades. Prior to Steelman, Dunk spent 2 seasons as the men's head coach for Elizabeth City State University. Prior to that, he spent 5 years as on the women's side at ECSU, compiling an 83-56 record. He was an assistant coach from 2003 to 2009 for the Vikings, which included a CIAA championship in 2007. So, yeah, Dunk is now the women's head coach at Virginia Union. Your comments on that one before we move on to our second hire?
A nice last name for something that won't happen at the level that he's coaching at now. There you go. That's my only thought.
Oh my goodness, Brian, I'm gonna leave you alone.
I had to think of something because I heard you gave some nice little you gave some nice references when you brought this up during Doc's show. So I had to think of something quickly on the fly. And that's all I could come up with. Sorry.
Gotcha. And this one hits close to home, Brian.
Oh yeah.
Allen names Douglas Whitler as the new head men's basketball coach. And obviously Whitler, the former Morehouse head coach, who I consider a good friend of mine now after our year together. You know, I coached against him, then I worked with him. Where else do that happen at, Brian?
Yeah, only in the SIAC.
Only in the SIAC. But this comes from auyellowjackets.com. Allen University is excited to welcome Douglas Whitler, a proven leader and championship-winning coach, as the new men's head basketball coach for the Yellow Jackets. Whitler arrives as the new head coach at Allen following a 4-year tenure in the same position at Morehouse College. During his time as head coach, Whitler amassed a overall winning percentage of 65.5% and 73.4% in conference play, marking the highest win total of any coach in Morehouse history in their first 4 seasons, and posting the second highest win percentage ever in program history. Whitler's teams were consistently among the SIAC's top teams, as the Maroon Tigers won 3 consecutive SIAC East Division regular championships from 2022 through 2024. And in 2024, Whitler led Morehouse to a second place finish in the SIAC East during the regular season. So, and as we know, Whitler took over in 2021 after the passing of longtime Morehouse legendary head coach Grady Brewer.
I hear my thoughts on this one, Drew. This is a tough job. Allen, since joining the SIAC, I believe this is a year they've been in the SIAC, 3 or 4 years now?
Well, officially 1 year as a D2, as a full-time D2 member.
Okay.
Just complete. Them and the Elwood Waters just completed their first season as full-time Division II members. The 3 years prior, they were transitional members.
But they were playing a D2 schedule or NAIA?
They was playing the SIAC schedule.
Okay. Well, here's why I say it's a tough task. Last year, 6 wins. That's what Allen won. 6 wins. Now, the year before, they were 15-15. You know, looking at the records, they were 15-15. So pretty good season just 2 seasons ago. But the previous 2 years, they only won 4 games in 6 years. So that's 16 wins. That's 31 wins over 4 seasons, right? If I'm doing my math correctly, that's a tall order for a man who by
30 what wins?
31 over the past 4 seasons.
That's just shy of 8 a year.
Yeah, well, if you were doing that kind of average, but they never had, well, outside of the 1 year where they were 15-15, 8 is a dream. I mean, they won 6. They won 6 a couple of seasons and 4. And here comes Whitler, who, look, 65, I'm reading the numbers here, an overall win percentage of 65%, a conference win percent of 73.4. So if Whitler can recruit, and again, he's right there in the same city with whom? Benedict, which has in that same time period been a high-level challenging team in the SIC the last 4 years that I'm aware of. So, this will be interesting to see. Can Whitler's connections that he has made at Morehouse, and look, I don't want to speak on academics of Allen to Morehouse, but I'm going to bet there's no comparison.
Allen is not Morehouse. I mean,
thank you. That's where I was going to go. It is not Morehouse.
And that's no disrespect to Allen.
No, I didn't mean it that way, but I'm just saying if it were tougher to get a young man into Morehouse, it's probably not as tough to get him in Allen. I'm generalizing, but I don't think I'm too far off base with that assumption. So I'm gonna be interested to see what Whitler does, and obviously the instant comparison will be if Whitler and Allen outperforms Morehouse. Oh, Morehouse alums, y'all are gonna be real pissed off. Not at your AD. Not at your AD. Drew can't say this, so Drew, turn your mic off, turn your camera off, because you can't. I want you to be caught up in this. Don't be mad at the AD. Don't be mad, Morehouse alums, at the AD if Whitler and Allen have a better season this year than Morehouse. Be mad at your president and your big name boosters over there at Morehouse that drove Whitler out the door. I'm done. I said what I said. Drew, you want to come back now?
I just wanted to make sure it was clear before I come back on the screen.
I'm done. I said I'm done. No more. Right. No wise. Now,
Brian, here's what makes this one interesting. If you remember last year in football, both Allen and Benedict had brand new head coaches in football this past fall.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, this year, Allen and Benedict will have new basketball coaches with Danton Jackson taking over Benedict this year also. Wow. Benedict definitely has the better football facility of the two schools there in Columbia, South Carolina. Benedict may have one of the best facilities in Division II football. Definitely among HBCUs. That's their facility. Now, I'm not talking about a municipal facility and all that stuff.
Right.
I would caution, and you would tell you, Allen probably has a better basketball facility than Benedict.
I can't say I've ever been to Allen's gym. I've been to Benedict's gym.
I have. And Benedict's gym is old.
Yes, it is.
It is old. When I say old, I mean
capital
old.
O, capital O, capital L, capital D.
O, L, and D.
It is.
So maybe a slight advantage for Whitler. Obviously, his
advantage
in Georgia, his connections in Michigan. Whitler's done a great job bringing in junior college kids into Morehouse. Mm-hmm. And Whitler also has one other advantage over Benedict. The fact that Allen is a university, Allen has graduate programs.
Okay.
So he can get a different type of recruit than he got at Morehouse because they have graduate programs. Well, Savannah State is asterisk, their Blue Jacket for life.
It is?
Because the interim coach
took over in January. Took over January, didn't he?
Yeah, Johnson. Clement Johnson, I believe his name is.
Yeah.
Took over when Coach Broadneck stopped down. Clement Thompson. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Took over when Broadneck stepped away, and he wound
all he did was win the tournament.
All he did was win the championship, which is usually a recipe for keeping your job and getting a contract.
Good job.
So yes, Savannah State, Benedict, Morehouse, Allen. Lemoyne Owen.
I think you might be right. Lemoyne Owen.
I believe Lemoyne Owen has a new coach. Am I missing anybody in the conference? I think that might be it.
Yeah, you might. Yeah, I think you got it. All right. Okay. Let's get ready to take a break. But before we go to break, I got a question. I got an honest question for our people in the chat, Drew. You're gonna like this. And this is gonna require some truth telling here. Some of y'all are gonna have to tell the truth here. Here you go, Drew. Here's the question. I'm just asking. Who's your school's daddy right now? That's it. There it is. I saw the way y'all were acting in the chat, so I just thought I'd put that out there. I'm curious to see your responses. You got to be honest here. Like there's some schools that are getting beat. Like if you're a Howard alum, you got to say Hampton's your daddy right now. You just got to go ahead and admit right now. See, there you go. Adrian Cook gonna get out here on these streets and start lying to folks. Okay, I said be honest. Be honest. Come on, Adrian. Be honest with yourself right now. Who's your school's daddy? All right, we're gonna come back and we're gonna hear the responses from y'all in a minute, as well as continue on with some other news and notes and get into talking about the main topic I wanted to bring up was we're starting to get into the summertime, and I want to ask a question about rivalries, Drew. We're 25 years into we're a quarter of the way into the century, the millennium, the new century. And there's some interesting takes, not just on the historical rivals, because we have some rivalries and some classics which are reaching 100-year mark. Some already have. And then, it's kind of an interesting year. So I thought we kind of look into rivalries, not just from a historical perspective, but over the past 25 years. And then maybe even a closer, more condensed, maybe last 4 or 5 years, and ask the question, what defines a rivalry? How do you define a rivalry? So there we go. Who's your school's daddy? On the other side, I want to hear from you guys. Honest answers only. Be honest, okay? You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap right here on the Black College Sports Network. Drew and I will be back in just a minute, right after these words.
There's a shot. To right. It could be. Right field. Grand slam. What a shot. That's how you get hot, young fella.
Thank you, guys, for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do, and all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
This is Brian Fulford. A.D. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN SportsWrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN SportsWrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Football
football fans. HBCU football is back in the ATL with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff. Representing the MEAC, North Carolina Central, and representing the SWAC, Southern, Eagles, Jaguars, the Marching Sound Machine, the Human Jukebox. The kickoff trophy is up for grabs, and bragging rights are on the line. The rivalry is real. Bring the family and join us pre-game for the fun-filled Coca-Cola fan experience, including band jamborees, food, activations, and fellowship. For tickets and information, visit MEACSWACChallenge.com.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and A.D. here.
Hey, Brian, before we get into the next topic, I think we might need to clarify that question that you asked going into break, because I think it may depend on which sport that you're talking about. And I'll just give you an example. In volleyball, FAMU is a SWAC's daddy right now.
Okay.
I'm just saying. Let's be real. In volleyball, FAMU is SWAC's daddy. So right now, if you took softball, you would have to say Jackson State right now is the SWAC's daddy. Anybody in the SWAC? Last two championships.
Does that, I mean, come on now. I mean, they haven't won the division, Drew. How can you be, look, great that you won the tournament, but you didn't win the division in either of those 2 years?
Brian, daddy, stepdaddy, goddaddy, I don't care how you want to classify it, Brian.
All right.
But yeah,
so again, Father's Day question.
Hampton is Howard's daddy.
Let's see what the people think, Drew. Some of y'all are real messy. Adrian's lying to himself. He says no. I believe it. I don't believe it. The FBS. Now that's truth right now. Owning HBCUs right now. I'm with you, Troy. There you go, Troy. 17 national champions make FAMU everybody's daddy. All right. Adrian, I can't look around at the moment. Lord have mercy. Adam Spencer. I wonder if Adam's talking about Hampton or Howard, rather. He must be talking about Howard, because I think that was the last time Howard did beat Hampton, was in the Obama administration. I love that.
Lawrence?
Lawrence?
I was looking at his other comment.
Oh, a little further down. All right, I'll get to it. See, there you go. You're being messy. One win, 59. See, that some wins will never be forgotten. Some losses will never be forgotten either.
No.
There you go. See.
No. That was a bad one night stand.
Well, apparently FAMU's had two of those. So I mean, it kind of is. There you go, Lawrence. Although, the MEAC SWAC challenge, what's that? I think it's 11-8 right now in favor of the MEAC.
Yeah, but if you look at the record since they moved to Atlanta, Brian, it's definitely in the favor of the SWAC. 4-2 since they moved the challenge to Atlanta.
Oh, now that might be some truth right there that Lawrence just dropped. Might be some truth. All right. So again, drop your comments.
Here you go, Brian. Oops.
Oh,
that's the last time Hampton won. I mean, Howard.
No,
won.
Howard. That would have been the last time Howard won.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Howard.
it was because there was a 4-year run there. I was just doing for our later topic. I was just doing the research. It has been a dominating run by Hampton over the past 25 years, plus 30 years almost, except for 4 particular years. 4 years where Howard won 4 in a row. Outside of that, Southern, yes. Look, Southern, yes, you are correct. Southern has never lost the SWAC MEAC. I think it has to remain MEAC SWAC until that 11-9 or 11-8 switches. But yes, Southern is 3-0 in the challenge. We'll just call it the challenge, the MEAC SWAC challenge, SWAC MEAC challenge, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, right now we'll see. Can Southern keep the streak going?
The Cricket
right now, it's been a
MEAC
streak
SWAC
going.
Challenge kickoff.
We'll say it again. What's the official
The
term?
Cricket
You should know.
MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff.
All right, there you go. A.D. Drew with the official words. We will make sure we get it right. Speaking of classics, Drew, looking here at our notes, the HBCU NY Classic will feature the Morehouse Maroon Tigers and the previously mentioned Howard University Bison. And I believe that was the same two teams who played in it this past year in 2024, right?
Right, correct.
Okay.
This is third year.
Third year, okay. Third year in this classic?
Yes.
All
Both
right.
same two teams.
Well, the game will be streamed on HBCU Go. Where was it streamed at before?
Last year it was NBC. Last year, NBC.
Oh,
CNBC.
That's right.
CNBC.
What? It wasn't NFL Network. It was NFL Network, wasn't it?
No, it was CNBC.
No.
It was
Okay.
CNBC, and there was I forgot where it was. On Peacock. CNBC
Gotcha.
and Peacock.
Okay, this is the fourth edition of the game between Morehouse and Howard. The game will take place in the Meadowlands in New Jersey, which is where the New York Football Giants and Jets play. It'll be on September 13th at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Of course, last season Howard won 35-21. I don't know if Morehouse won this thing yet, ever in this iteration.
No.
All right. Interesting. All right.
You know what that tells me, though, Brian? The fact that HBCU Go has announced their game.
What's that tell you?
That means the ESPN games have been chosen. But those schedules have not been released yet, because that's the only way that HBCU Go can pick up games, because they're in the number 2 position. So I would expect the ESPN schedules to start rolling out real soon for each of our conferences.
ESPN has already started dropping other college football schedules.
Right. That means they've already got all that information to the conference. They just haven't dropped our level yet.
Gotcha. Speaking of HBCU Go, which is owned in part by Byron Allen and the Allen Media Group, if I'm not mistaken, if that's the correct name of it.
Right.
Did you see the news that McDonald's had settled, what was it, a 10 billion? Million. But a B, $10 billion
yes,
settlement with his group. Now, I don't have. Do you have that article? Do you have that accessible? I know it wasn't in our show notes, but it kind of
it was on the other copy.
Oh, it was? Okay, hold on. Let me go. Let me see if I can find it, because
but no, that's not the right article. Hold up, I've got it here. They pulled up a different article. Oh, wait a minute, I pulled it on.
I'm gonna just do a quick search. But
no, it's actually in our chat, Ryan.
That's right. Okay, here it is. I'm gonna read it from Reuters. here. McDonald's settles Byron Allen's $10 billion lawsuit over ads for Black-owned media. Allen accused the fast food chain of, quote, racial stereotyping by excluding Black-owned media from much of its advertising budget. Friday's settlement between McDonald's and two of Allen's companies, Entertainment Studios Networks and the Weather Group, averts a scheduled July 15th trial in LA federal court. It also resolves claims raised by Allen's related $100 million lawsuit against McDonald's in Los Angeles Superior Court. McDonald's says it will buy ads, quote, at market value from Allen's companies, quote, in a manner that aligns with its advertising strategy and commercial objectives. No complete settlement terms have come out. They seem to be confidential. McDonald's, which is based in Chicago, denied wrongdoing in agreeing to settle. In a statement, Allen's companies said, quote, we acknowledge McDonald's commitment to investing in Black-owned media properties and increasing access to opportunity. Our differences are behind us. Yeah, I would say that. It's true. He accused McDonald's of falsely labeling Entertainment Studios as a media company that produces content solely for Black viewers, co-signing it to its, quote, de minimis ad budget for those viewers instead of its general ad budget. He also accused McDonald's of lying when it pledged in 2021 to boost national ad spending with those media to 5% from 2% by 2024. Allen's media networks include the Weather Channel, Cars.tv, Comedy.tv, ES.tv, Justice Central, MyDestination.tv, Pets TV, and Recipe.tv. You know what I don't see in there, Drew? HBCU Go.
But what that does, Brian, because that frees up, that's money that those entities are bringing in, that's going to be a trickle down to HBCU Go. And with also what you didn't see were the duopoly stations that Byron Allen currently owns, but is trying to sell.
One other interesting nugget from the article, Allen said he relied on that pledge, the pledge from McDonald's back in 2021, when seeking business from McDonald's, only to be rebuffed, and that his Allen Media Group represented more than 90% of Black-owned media. Now, that part is not right. I would say that's not. It'll be interesting, something to pay attention to. The trickle down will be interesting to see how it opens the door, because I think one of the biggest, look, full transparency here, folks, we, Black College Sports Network, exist in this world of trying to bring Black college content to streaming platforms like YouTube or the internet, the same internet that ESPN and HBCU Go use. I mean, it's the same internet, right?
ESPN Plus.
Right, same internet, just so we're all clear. There's only one internet, right? The challenge has always been in getting access to the advertisers. And when you have those relationships, which companies like HBCU Go, Allen Media Group, and even some others out there, I won't throw names out, but since we're just talking about HBCU Go and Allen Media, I'll stick to them. Having access to advertisers makes all the difference in the world. What it does, it means that when you have advertisers, you who are spending to watch content from your various universities don't have to do pay-per-view. Let me repeat that. To watch a volleyball, basketball, football,
softball, baseball
game from your university, when you have advertising that pays for that content, right? It opens it up so that you, the consumer, can watch those games. Otherwise, the schools are left with the basic question of, how are we going to generate revenue? Well, there's two primary ways you're going to generate revenue. It's either going to come from the advertisers or the consumer. And so when you don't have the advertising, whether it be companies like McDonald's or access to other advertising agencies, who ends up footing the bill? You, me, Drew, as pay-per-view subscribers. Now, the schools have been nice about using it as you're supporting our athletic departments, which you are, right? But you're also spending money. Like some schools charge $20 a game. I'm not going to mention names. Other schools charge a monthly. I'm really bothered by that, but as you can tell. Other schools charge a month. But anyway, the revenue from the subscriptions go to the schools, right? And who knows how that shows up in the budget. I don't even know if it shows up in the budget, where it shows up in the budget at. Because nobody that I'm aware of has released their streaming numbers. So that part, think about that part for a second, Drew. Okay. But let's just say 100 people are watching somebody's feed at $20 a pop.
It's $2,000.
Well, it's $2,000 that was generated from that game.
You know what's sad about that, Brian?
Huh?
You know what's sad about that $2,000 you just generated?
Yeah.
Depending on the sport, you may not have even covered costs of production.
Thank you. Because it does cost to have not only camera operators, producer, director, on-air talent. You know, you want those nice graphics and stuff you see. I mean, somebody's got to do all that. So, I mean, there's a cost to all of that. So, again, it is the challenge that not only companies like ourselves and others face, but it's also the thing that prevents you consumers from being able to consume free sports content.
One other thing, that's why we tell you guys, even if you're not able to watch it, turn it on or go back and watch it later. If they have a way for you to like it or something along those lines, please do. Share it. That's why we emphasize those things so much, even for a podcast like this, Brian. That algorithm makes all the difference in the world. So when we do get in front of advertisers, we have quantifiable data. Quantify means numbers, everybody. We have data we can put numbers behind. And the more people that we have to get, the better it is. And clicking on for 15, 20 seconds at a time does not help the algorithm. Because they look at how long, not only how many people are watching, how long are they watching? Because the longer that you have people engaged, the more of a chance that my ad will pop up during the ad pool.
Did I lose you there, Drew?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I'm here. Let's move on, man. We got other money issues to talk about too, man.
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up. My last point, you brought up reporting numbers. While it's important for you all to, and this is why we tell you to like and subscribe, and because those are numbers that are quantifiable, it's also interesting that the schools don't give you or don't publish the data. Now, again, they may have it internally, and they may be using it. They may be using it to draw sponsorship, right? I don't know. But the data would be, you would think that would be a budget item that they would show. Or and like I said, maybe it is, but I'm just, it's one of those things. That's what advertisers are fighting for, is to know, well, you can't just tell me that you had 300 people watching your pay-per-view feed if you never publish the data. How am I supposed to believe that? Right? That's the one thing about sort of YouTube and Facebook. You can actually look and see the metrics and the numbers. Publicly, right? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, because you can always find your own numbers.
Do you want to transition to recruiting, or do you want to go to track and field for a second, Drew, before we get into the next break?
Let's finish up the rest of the news and notes. It doesn't matter which one you go to before we jump on this more of this house settlement stuff, man.
Okay. So Florida Memorial, while we're talking about television deals, Florida Memorial extending its deal with Urban Edge Network through 2028. They signed a multimedia deal with Urban Edge Network, the digital streaming network. An HBCU institution contract extension extends their groundbreaking multimedia agreement through 2028. This from Kyle Mosley, HBCU Legends. This is an additional 3-year deal for the licensing agreement for Florida Memorial. Now, if I'm not mistaken, UEN, Urban Edge Network, used to be they were the network known as HBCU Plus or HBCU League Pass Plus. I know there was
and HBCU League Pass.
Yes, which I think is all kind of going away. I think they've kind of moved away from
they're UEN now.
Yeah, so they moved to UEN, and in full transparency, the Black College Sports Network has worked with UEN in the past, so very familiar with the guys over there and the work they're doing. Matter of fact, they're doing some big things. Congrats! I saw they signed a big deal with the NAIA, if I'm not mistaken. So they're kind of moving through. According to a quote here from this article from Florida Memorial University interim president William McCormick, he said, "This partnership is not just about streaming sports. It's about telling our story. Through UEN, we amplify the excellence of our students, the energy of our campus, and the legacy of our institution to a national audience. This renewed agreement is a powerful tool to our mission to transform lives and uplift communities." The partnership ensures Florida Memorial's strong presence across UEN's extensive connected TV, cable TV distribution network, reaching approximately 115 million U.S. households. So a big time opportunity. And I say it's a big time opportunity because if Florida Memorial can put forth that content that President McCormick spoke about, because it's easy to put together the sports content, Drew, right? Because you know where that's going to be, you know where that is. It has a set date and time. It's the other stuff. Like, who's going to come out and film and publish the Greek step shows, the features, the lecture series, the convocations? Those are the additional content opportunities that many schools, in my opinion, aren't taking advantage of when you have these global streaming platforms. Just my opinion. Good question here by Jamie. Good shout out to Jamie checking in. Why do you think that is, Drew? Why won't people disclose their media numbers so we can see why this is news?
Some of it may be embarrassment, Jamie. I mean, if I've only got 10 people watching my stream, I don't want to publish that number. I'm just being real. And then there's a lot of it where people actually don't understand the importance of those numbers, Bryan.
I think you have different metrics too, because there's the number where people actually click on and watch your show, right? There's the
views. You have unique views,
right?
Which means difference between views and unique views is if you click on there 3 times, it counts as 3 views. But if you click on there from the same device, it only counts as 1 unique view. Then you have time watch, Bryan, which is another big one. You can
how long you stay engaged with the show,
right?
You know,
you can even break down where people are watching from, Bryan.
Oh yeah,
you watch an iPhone, PC, Mac, iOS, Android. You can get deeper to these weeds looking at these numbers, Bryan.
Right.
So, Jamie, I love your question, but what number do I publish? Yeah. And one other thing, Bryan. First of all, it takes 24 hours for all your numbers to register. Everybody needs to keep that in mind. So after those 24 hours, then you could potentially publish numbers. Even with the big boys, it takes them 24 to 48 hours before they even push numbers out. And then you've got, Bryan, you've got your total views. I watched the same day, but I did not watch it live. I might have been at work or something like that. So, that's another way to measure the metric. Total views, total live views, total views. So there's a bunch of different ways to quantify it, Bryan. Which number do you want me to publish, Jamie?
I think they're good and bad. Like there many. I'm familiar that many people and organizations don't necessarily put forth their internal data. Kind of following up on what Dr. Cavill said, if you saw him in the chat room there. But this is where the big debate about streaming comes in. And I know, like, for example, we're familiar with Nielsen, right? Many people have heard of the Nielsen ratings. Like when you watch these NBA numbers, for example, the opening game of the NBA was the lowest rated since the COVID season, right? It was under a 5, 4.7, something like that. But part of that, you can look at it from 2 different perspectives. It'll lead you to say, well, because it's 2 low markets, right?
All markets.
Media markets, right? The 21st and 25th media market, right? You could also say it's because the interest or lack of real star power from either of these 2 teams. You could go that route. The big city teams don't want to watch Midwest basketball between Indiana and Oklahoma City. They're just not interested. You could go that. Basketball fans. And so the good and bad of these numbers is something that the NBA will have to challenge and tackle, because trust me, the numbers last year were over 10 million. I think it was like 11. And who was in the finals last year? It was like Boston and Dallas. I think it was. That drew an 11 million viewers. This is half of that. Trust me, the NBA does not want multiple years of Oklahoma City and Indiana. They don't.
You know what else is missing this year, Bryan? The big international star.
That's a very good point.
Off these
very
2
good
teams.
point.
But last year you had Luka.
You got Canadian stars, but Canadians are right across the border. That's like north of you don't have across the seas or across a body of
You
water
don't have a
star.
Joker. You don't have a Luka. You don't have a
Giannis.
Giannis.
Right. Good point.
In these finals, so you're not getting the international numbers. And just so you know, we're talking about ratings, even with the Nielsen ratings, Brian. Like if it's on, you go to Applebee's and you watch the game, it only counts for 4 for every TV set that is on in there. Counts as 4 people watching versus if you're in your house, it only counts for 1 person.
Yep. I'm just surprised that somehow, like I said, and so until you get company, like until you see the day that Netflix and think about the major streaming providers, until you see Netflix, Amazon,
Apple TV,
and like the only way you know that this is how you know they are making a lot of money, Drew, by the money that they're spending for sports rights. And movies, because they're spending a lot of movie on so but you really don't know how much money. You can speculate, but you're probably not even close to being right. All you can really look at is the production of the movies and the consistently new content that's coming out, and then the TV rights, and that will give you a sliver of an idea of what Netflix, Amazon, Apple TV, all of those entities are pushing out, right? So,
yes,
yeah. And so with that said, though, Jamie's question about the numbers, people, the good old echo chamber of Twitter, right, as we like to call it. When you hear people start to complain about our value and our worth, well, we go back to, how do you know what our worth is?
I can tell you this from having been in some of those rooms, Brian.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
When you are in a conversation with a sponsor, those numbers come out. You present them with a set of numbers, they want to know deeper into the numbers. So you have to present them with a second set of numbers and maybe possibly a third set of numbers. But Brian, as somebody who's been in those rooms, I'm not going to give you what you don't ask for, because too much information can be bad.
Oh, that's bad. Yes.
It can be bad. You want to know this number? I got you. You want to know this number? Give me a day. I'll get it back to you.
Mm-hmm.
But you give out your best number. You give out your number that you want them to see at first, and then let them ask the next set of questions, Brian.
Mm-hmm. I always relate this to, see, I grew up in radio and and very casually understood how radio numbers work. I still never went deep into it, but there was once a time when myself and a friend of mine, we had a radio show that we did on the local sports station here in Orlando. Now, full transparency, we had to pay for the airtime, right? But our show was on at like 8 or 9 o'clock on a weekday, in the evening. And I'll never forget, we were getting actually pretty good numbers. And we were getting some pretty good guests, and the content and the show was so well produced that even the local people were like, man, you guys are really well prepared. It was like if we took our show to local radio, you'd be surprised at how popular it might be for a local radio network, because you could do so many different things with it. But at the end of the day, we ended up getting numbers, and we could find out, like, okay, in the evening, who's watching the show, or listening to the show, the stuff that, who are the makeup of the listeners. And I still don't understand how they got all that data, but they did. But, it's just fascinating, and it can lead you down a rabbit hole. Like, so to get back to your point, Drew, yeah, you got to be careful about giving people too many numbers, because I can give you a number that will tell you, hey, between 18 and 34-year-old males, they love this show. Oh, okay, great. But then you may wonder, what about 50-year-old people? Oh, they don't listen. They don't listen or watch our shit. You know, it's like 18 to 34. Hey, we're number one in the media market. Yeah, 25 to 50-year-olds ain't really watching though or listening. So you just gotta be careful about that stuff.
I'm gonna leave you with this before we get into this track and take our next break, Brian. But I was talking to a potential sponsor. Obviously, I'm not gonna call the name. And they mentioned something about their demographic, and their demographic was 18 to 30-year-old African American males.
Okay.
I looked at that person and I was like, hell, I got a whole campus full of nothing but 18 to 30-year-old African American males. We need to talk.
Yes, exactly.
That's all I got.
That's all you got. It's nothing else. We have the house on 18 to 34-year-olds, 30-year-olds. Yes. You sure do.
Exactly.
If you can reach, if they can reach the 18 to 22, 23, 24-year-olds at your campus, when they turn 30, they'll still be loyal, whatever product is. They'll still be loyal to your company if you do it right.
Exactly.
Yeah, good stuff. All right.
Let's get some track and then go to break.
All right. Track. Did you put this article in there on the track update, or do I got to go somewhere to look for it?
Did I put the track in?
Because I was somewhere here. I don't have the latest results. I'm bumping around here on.
I can pull them up. Give me a second. Got to go to. Let's see.
UAPB's Jordan Pierre. I'm reading this from the Pine Bluff Commercial. For the second straight season, the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff finished track and field season with a medal. UAPB sprinter Jordan Pierre finished third in the men's 400-meter dash finals on Friday of the NCAA Division I Outdoor Track and Field Championships at Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon. He finished with a 45.75. He was the fourth runner to cross the finish line and initially appeared to have just missed the podium. After a review, a young man from South Florida who had crossed the line second was disqualified for stepping over his lane line more than once. That moved the USC sprinter, who was in third, to second, and thus Pierre moved to third. So, yeah, congratulations to Jordan Pierre for coming into third on the medal stand. I don't have any other results. I know. Do you have any results? Because I know we had Jarrett Gentiles of Coppin State who was competing in the 400-meter hurdles. If you can go to those, I'll tell you the event. You just go look. How about the 400-meter hurdles? How did Jarrett Gentiles from Coppin State do?
I'm pulling it back up. I'm on.
So
I'm on the women's right now.
Well, hold on. Stay on the women's. Stay on the women's. If you're on the women's, stay on the women's. Because in the women's side, you had Marcia Say of Howard in the women's 100-meter hurdles. How did she do?
100-meter hurdles did not make the finals.
Oh, I thought she made the finals. Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, my bad then.
Top 8.
How about the women's 4x100? Howard. I know they were in the 4x100 relay.
4x100. Won by USC. Howard finished sixth with a time of 43.23. A full second off of the first place winner of SC.
All right. Let's see. Check in the women's high jump. Women's high jump. I think you had a pair of North Carolina A&T ladies in the women's high jump.
Highest HBCU finisher was Spirit Morgan of A&T with a 1.84. That's 6 feet 1/2 inch.
What place is that?
That was 11th. I apologize.
Oh, okay. That's all right. How about Olivia Dowd? She was in the triple jump.
Okay, triple jump.
Olivia Dowd of A&T.
She finished 23rd in the triple jump with a 12.46. That's 40 feet 10 1/2 inches.
All right, let's go over to the men if you win. So according to the HBCU Sports.com article, here are the men that competed in the final of a field event. Well, these are field events, Drew. So we've got Southern's Roman Smith in the men's high jump. And then we had 3 HBCU guys in the men's triple jump. Xavier Partee of North Carolina A&T, Anthony Woods of Alabama State, and LaDamian Rowell of Jackson State, all competing in the men's triple jump.
And the men's event is women's championship tracker. I'm looking for the men's championship tracker. You got to give me a second, Brian.
Okay, that's all right. Sorry about that, folks. You know, live on the air, live television here. You're seeing it.
Okay, here we go. What was the events, Brian? For the men.
All right, so let's start with the men's high jump. Men's high jump.
High jump.
Roman Smith of Southern competed in the men's high jump.
Finished tied for 23rd. No, he finished 23rd. I'm sorry. With a 2.10 meters, that's 6 feet 10 3/4 inches.
All right. The men's triple jump. You had 3 HBCU guys in the men's triple jump.
In the triple jump, A&T, Xavier Partee, 1532, which is 50 feet 3 1/4. Jackson State's LaDamian Rowell, 15.15. That's 49 8 1/2.
Give their place. Does it show their place in there?
Let's see. Who was the first one I said? Partee finished 17th.
Okay.
Rowell finished 19th.
Okay. And Anthony Woods of Alabama State?
Scratched.
Oh, scratched. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And then I asked you to look for Coppin State's Jarrett Gentos of the men's 400 hurdles.
400 hurdles.
Yeah, 400 hurdles.
Finished 9th, 51.50.
All right. So it looks like Jordan Pierre was the only HBCU athlete to finish on the medal stand.
Yes. And that was in what event again?
The 400-meter dash, 400 meters. So congratulations to all of those participants. It's a big thing, not just only making it to regionals, but then getting the call and going to Eugene, Oregon. So, congrats to all of the HBCUs that represented there. All right. Can we take a break, Drew? Because I know we wanted to come back and we got to get into 2 quick topics here before we close the show. A couple a recap, or not only a recap, but maybe a couple of additions on the House settlement as a carryover from last Sunday's show. And then rivalries. What defines a rivalry to you? We're going to take a look at historically some of the top football rivalries, and then also look at a more current look at some of the top football rivalries. So let's do that. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be back in just a moment.
I'm returning to Clinton Parish, and Tampa's my community. I grew up here, went to school here, and my wife and I make our home here. What makes Tampa special are its people. So when I represent someone injured in my community, it's personal. Call my office and speak to a real lawyer and not some referral service. I will fight the insurance companies to get the settlement that you deserve. At the law office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being heard.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Attention football fans. The Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff is back in Atlanta on August 23rd. Representing the MEAC, North Carolina Central, and representing the SWAC Southern. Join us at Center Park Stadium for a full day of tailgating, football, and bands. For more information and tickets, visit MEACSWACChallenge.com.
Welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Brian Fulford, A.D. Drew here. Drew, you know how I was telling you earlier in the show, I was looking for Father's Day food discounts. I came across one on my phone that I overlooked previously. Treat Papa to Papa John's. Get 40% off all regular menu pizza prices today through Sunday. Well, this was sent to me on Friday. With the code Father's Day 40. So that's 40% off of pizza. That's not bad, Drew.
I mean, it only makes sense that Papa John's gives a discount on Father's Day.
That's
somebody in the marketing department has some sense.
That's the best deal I have seen thus far. I might be ordering Papa John's after the show, Drew.
But is it only for pizza?
Or
is it for everything? Wings,
pasta,
drinks.
I just lost it. Damn it. Oh, here it is. Let's see. Regular menu price pizzas.
See, I wouldn't be able to go.
I mean, I don't know. You know, you have to sometimes try to order and then and then see what happens. Hey, the only time I order Papa John's is when they have deals. Like I used a teacher discount in the month of May. So that was the last time I ordered Papa John's. I made the mistake of, I wanted to get the wings. I made the mistake. I did the boneless wings. Don't do boneless wings, people.
They don't do nothing but piss you off.
It's a waste. It's a waste. It's a waste.
Okay.
Let's get into kind of cleaning up a little bit. The house settlement that we talked about from the other day, some new things have kind of come out over the past week.
There's something coming out every day on this stuff, man.
There is. So I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know how far into this we can really go, Drew, with time span. But I'm gonna kind of go. Let's see.
I think
do you want to move into where compliance tools, the caps, and NIL go? Can we go to that?
I do want to bring up one thing.
Go ahead.
The transfers and the buyout portion. There's a portion that came out about the transfers and buyouts when kids transfer. I think that's just as important, and maybe not as important for understanding how this up to $20.5 million cap is going to go in the first year, Brian.
Is this regarding the question and answer, the implementation of the House settlement? Is that what this is related to?
Yes.
Okay, I saw this too. I highlighted this. I don't know. I must not have sent this to you, but you saw it too.
Yes. And I'll give you an example, Brian. Student athlete signs a 2-year deal with a $50,000 bonus for $100,000 per year. So year one, $150,000 would count towards the salary cap, and the benefit cap. That's the word that they use, the benefit cap, not salary cap, the benefit cap. In year two, $100,000 would count towards the benefit cap because it was a $50K bonus and $100K per year. A transfer triggers adjustments. Unpaid amounts drop if never paid, but buyouts by a new school do not count. I think that was one of the biggest things right here. Performance bonus and incentives also initially count, even if unearned later. I think those are some of the key things that came out as what's going to count and not count against your benefits cap. Brian, schools are not only going to have to hire a GM, but they're going to wind up having to hire a capologist also.
Yes, you're going to have somebody who understands these numbers. And look, this is what I want to ask you guys who are watching, listening in the chats. How deep into the woods are you willing to get with college athletics on this? Because we have grown up into understanding this from the pro level, right? And I guess we understand that in the pro sports world, look, it's a profession. It's professional sports. And we deal with it. We understand it a little bit. Are you really all in on doing this at your favorite college and university? I'm just real talk. And again, we're only talking certain Division Ones. We're not talking all. I mean, so let's bring it to our HBCUs, because come on, Drew, the numbers you just threw out, what HBCU is dropping that kind of money on a player?
If we get $100,000 benefit cap, we'll be happy at any of our schools.
Yes, and I have had a coach tell me if he could raise 200,000, 250 even, he could do a lot with that. That's Division I. That's a SWAC school.
The only thing with that, Brian, and I still go back to this, Brian, until we get to the point where we can fully fund our scholarships and give cost of attendance, we will never be able to play in this NIL space.
I don't think people really. I don't like. I sometimes I hear people, and I'm going to admit, like, I understand cost of attendance, but I don't. It's like when people ask me about APR, like, I understand it, but I don't. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, when you talk,
cost of attendance is a real life number. Okay, Brian, we'll take our alma mater, Florida A&M University.
Okay, it
costs X amount of dollars to go there. Tuition, yes, tuition, books, technology fee, athletic fee, all your fees. We're just going to put it. We're just going to say $20,000 a year.
Okay,
for the simplicity of it. Correct.
Simplicity, yes.
All right. Let's add another $10,000 room and board.
Okay.
Now you're at $30,000 per year.
Okay.
Let's add meal plan into that, Brian.
Is that another 5?
Well, you get a meal plan there for $5,000 a year, Brian.
Look, I don't know. It's been a while since I've been to college.
Okay. Let's add another $10,000 in for the meal plan.
Man, what are you eating? But go ahead.
19 meals a week, Brian. That's a full meal plan.
Again, I'm blown.
Monday through Friday, 3 times a week, and then Saturday and Sunday 2 times a week. 2 times a day.
What is that per day? What is that per day?
It's 19 meals per week.
I don't want to go down the
meal plan is 19 meals per week.
Okay, I get it. Okay.
All right. So now you're at $40K, correct?
Yes.
Then you have inherent cost of being in that particular city.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, you and I both know when we got to Tallahassee, there was a little bit of culture shock, at least to some of the prices that I paid for stuff in St. Louis, Missouri, that I paid for in Tallahassee, Florida. And I'm pretty sure it was the same thing coming from Indianapolis, Indiana to Tallahassee, Florida.
Yes, it was.
So cost of living in a Tallahassee, Florida, the cost of attending Florida A&M in Tallahassee, Florida, is going to be a bit more than cost to attend school in Itabena, Mississippi. Even with everything else being equal. So, there's a quantifiable number that is out there from the NCAA that you can have for the. It's just like cost of living in a city. Brian, you know good and doggone well, if you make $100,000 in DC or New York, that is not the same $100,000 that you can make in value wise that it would be in Jackson, Mississippi.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
So
relate that to I'm with you. Keep going.
That's what the cost of attendance is.
Okay.
Right now, if you happen to give out a full scholarship, it usually covers tuition, room, board, possibly meal plan, depending on the school.
Okay.
There's nothing left over. This is that leftover money. It may be $5,000 a year. It may be $10,000 per year that you can add to that, but it comes out of your athletic budget now. This is not free money. It comes out of your athletic budget. That's what I mean by cost of attendance. But if we can't even give out the $40,000 that it takes per student, per sport, because we don't have scholarship caps anymore, Brian. We have roster limits.
Right.
So just do that math. $40,000 times 15 players for basketball. Now there's creative accounting that goes on right with that, and we know that, Brian. Like Florida A&M being a state institution, obviously a student in the state of Florida is not going to pay that $20,000 that I had in that example. They may only pay $5,000 because of the in-state discount that they give. We know this thing called out of state waivers that you give, which actually goes back on the institution, does not come out of the athletic budget. So there are little different things that you can do from an accounting perspective. But can I just say something, Ryan? All a scholarship is a coupon. It's a discount. You talking about that Papa John's 40% off? All a scholarship is, Brian, is that 40% off that you're talking about at Papa John's. There's still 60% out there that somebody has to come up with. Be it boosters, be it mama, daddy, be it financial aid, whatever. There's still 60% out there that you have to come up with. So we've got to make up that price first before we even get to this NIL stuff. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent, Brian.
No, I have so many questions because I really think nobody has ever done a real economics of college athletics show that I've seen. And look, we're teachers, you and I, right? This is one of those moments where I feel like when we talk about the business of sports, this would be a perfect opportunity. And I'm talking, come with the PowerPoints and everything, to be able to show the finances of how this could work. But again, I go back to my previous question, Drew. How deep into the woods do you, as a fan of college athletics, as a fan of your HBCU, how deep do you really want to go into this?
Bryan, I would nerd you out if allowed.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it because I think,
but our ratings may drop, Bryan.
Well, they might drop for a minute, right? But I think people will come back to it. But I'll say this though. What I think it'll expose is, remember that number Doc asked me to give last week? I think that number is going to go down. I said over and under 17.5. I think I'm going to have to move that line down to about 13, 12.5.
That was my number. Remember, my number was 50%. Close to 50%.
I think I'm going to have to move it down to 13, 12.5. I really do. Because the economics of what you just talked about, we're not there. No way. We're not there. So I don't know. There was I was gonna mention when we were talking about the compliance thing. I had an article or a tweet here by a lawyer who focuses in sports, entertainment, intellectual property, and business law. He teaches NIL at Miami Law. His name is Darren Heitner. He's a guy that I follow on Twitter that I've always really enjoyed hearing his comments and his thoughts on certain topics related to NIL. And especially as it relates to the biggest takeaways that shake up, this settlement. And I don't know, maybe we should save it for another time. Yeah. I'll save it for next week's show, and maybe we can.
And by that time, it'll be 3 more things that have come out.
We'll have 3 more things that'll come out. Yeah, exactly. All right.
Let's get into this caps.
Oh, now you want to talk about caps? The compliance caps?
Yes.
All right. So what exactly is caps then?
Centralized system where every student athlete's contract must be uploaded. Presidents, the ADs, and the head coach must sign off on it by September 1 annually. It's that simple. It's just a database system.
All right. And so, and again, this is all related and surrounding NIL. So again, now you have this clearinghouse, for lack of a better word, called NIL Go, correct?
Correct. And that's the thing that's run by the Deloitte. I'm about to say Deloitte and Touche back in our day. But
that's where I always is that what they are now? It used to be Deloitte Touche, now it's just Deloitte. Is it the same company?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I always see Deloitte, and I'm always saying, what happened to Touche? But anyway, go ahead.
And there'll be the management for third party NILs for any deal over $600. We've talked about it. We know what the magic number is for $600. And there's a great article on Yahoo Sports that really takes a deep dive into this for those of you all who want to nerd out about this. But basically, it's a 6-step submission process. And what do you do when you have to go to arbitration when there is a dispute? And most importantly, Bryan, the subpoena powers that they have for when they have to do their quote unquote investigations, Brian?
I've heard two different things come up in speaking about arbitration. One, let me see, where can I find it here? Where is it at? It talked about arbitration. Okay. This guy, Darren Heitner, he says, one, arbitration's a trap. Schools can pay an athlete's legal fees to fight a rejected NIL deal, but they're also stuck with the arbitrator's bill. Smells like a ploy to scare schools off, keeping disputes quiet. And subpoena power, good luck enforcing that. That was one take I heard. Now, the other take on that regarding arbitration was that arbitration, which you hear about arbitration more so, I think, in Major League Baseball,
right,
than any other professional sports league.
Yes.
Where pretty much what the arbiter says goes. Right? And so that being the case, if this arbitration deal is in place, so let's say they reject, if you're going to get $2,000, which is over the $600 limit, you're going to get $2,000 from an auto mechanic shop, and they reject it, you could go to arbitration for it. But when you go to arbitration, you're kind of, you're kind of living with the result of the arbiter.
Right. And I wonder if it will be like in baseball, Brian. Okay, we're going to arbitration. We've got an arbitration hearing set for 30 days from now. Mm-hmm. If in those 30 days, the issues that the arbiter had objections to can be cleared up, can you withdraw from the arbitration? Just like they do in baseball. The owner puts out a number, the player puts out a number. A lot of times they settle on that number before the arbitration hearing. But just like in baseball, whatever that arbiter says, that's what that player's salary is.
Right. But rarely do you see it go to the net. Like, rarely do you get an appeal, because most of the time, if I'm not mistaken, Drew, when there's an appeal, usually if you try to take it to appeal, you got to show some sort of, really circumstantial or some circumstances that really show maybe a bias. I don't know, but usually the judge or the appeals judge, the appellate court is what it's called, is going to side with the arbiter because that's what you agreed on. But Drew, do the players, they didn't sign a collective bargaining. So who's agreeing? Are the players agreeing to this deal?
There's a lawyer somewhere that's going to get paid to bring that question to a court.
That's a legitimate
question.
That's why this was the tweet that I read came from a lawyer, right? So,
and I'm not even reading the tweet, but just you asking that question that way, there's a lawyer somewhere that's going to get their 33 and
the same thing. Right. Ask Lawrence's question: can players get any postseason money? Put that up there. Can players get any postseason money?
According to, and this is not absolute, but schools cannot tie payments into wins and losses.
Mm-hmm.
So, postseason, in order to get postseason money, that has to be tied into wins and losses. So, on the surface, Lawrence, I would say no. But I am not the legal expert. But I don't, based on what I've seen thus far, no. But we do know there are postseason events, bowl games, basketball tournaments, baseball tournaments, etc., that pay players NIL money.
Yes.
So
they just had one. A basketball tournament
in Vegas
last year,
and also the one in Charlotte tried to do that also.
Right.
the HBCU event in Charlotte.
But didn't every player who participated go into that with a small bit of change, and then it kind of graduated based on where he finished? Is that how that went?
Which in this case, it would be tied to wins and losses.
Slippery slope.
Slippery slope, right?
Slippery slope.
Slippery slope.
All right. The opt-in decision, January. It's moved now. When we were speaking last week, we were at that time. It was today. It got moved back to the end of the month.
Who first suggested that?
That was you.
Okay,
which made sense because that was the end of the most academic fiscal years, or for academic schools, it's the fiscal year. All right. Let's see. You already answered the question about tying payments to wins and stats. You cannot do that. Media rights partners. What about media rights payment counts if it's funded by the institution? Multi-year NIL contracts allowed. Are they allowed, Drew? You gave the example earlier.
Only as much as the player has eligibility remaining, which we know that's a whole other fight right there on how much eligibility they have remaining.
So a freshman coming in.
Could in theory sign a 4-year deal.
Yeah, I would advise not to.
I was saying in theory. I didn't say in practice.
In theory, he could. He could. That would be interesting to see. That'll be interesting to see if NIL collectives are going to get smart to that point. Are they going to maybe push freshmen into 2-year or 3-year deals to try to say, well, we don't want you here for just one. We want you here for at least 2 years. And then the question is, what would be the clause? What are the clauses? How can you get out of that deal? Because you can get out of any deal.
Yeah.
Do you have to pay back a certain amount of money that you were giving up front?
Yeah. Yes, it's already said that.
Okay.
Yeah. But somebody's going to negotiate that in the contract. So, Brian, we just take the Carlos Brown contract and adjust it for players.
I love it. Good stuff.
What about going over the cap, Brian?
That's where. Okay. That's where you get into this question. This goes to my NBA knowledge here. Hard cap,
second and third aprons.
Hard cap or soft cap?
We don't have second and third aprons, Brian.
Is it a hard cap or soft cap? Because if it's a hard cap, then in theory, you can't go over the number. But you know and I know, I don't believe that there's going to be a hard cap. I believe there's going to be probably a soft cap, which means if you go over, you can play, or you will be charged penalties, which thus means, just like in baseball, Drew, the teams that have the bread can pay for the penalties, i.e. the tax.
Brian, there are not going to be a lot of teams able to pay for these penalties. If we're seeing schools like Michigan cut sports because of this, the University of Alabama potentially cutting sports because of this, and those are the power of the power two of the powers of the power two. If they're cutting sports, Brian, you're not going to see a whole lot of people getting over that number. And you probably won't see a whole lot of people even floating close to that number, Brian. Not initially. And Brian, this is not in our notes, but it makes me want to think about this. 3 years ago, the ACC extended to California. Interesting. Mm-hmm. We had our reservations. Interesting thought. The Big Ten going from New Jersey to Los Angeles. Interesting. And so forth and so on with these conferences. Right now, Brian, of the Power Four conferences, the SEC is probably in the best position because they maintain.
Maintain what?
They maintained their membership. They did not expand crazy and became a global conference.
Nationwide
conference.
Right.
For football, Brian, University of Miami going to Los Angeles or Washington or wherever, to Colorado or
California, because that's where Stanford and Cal are part of the ACC now, right?
That's not that bad for football. For every other sport, though, Brian, because it's a once a week sport.
Okay.
For every other sport, though,
it's 80 people, though, Drew. I mean that's significant, though.
But Brian, they flying all they sports anyway.
All right.
They flying to Boston to play. They flying to Boston to play Boston College. Just a different direction. But anyway, let me get back to this. But now you see, but for your sports like your softball, your swimming, your baseball, even basketball, and a lot of these smaller sports, your bowlings, your tennises, your golfs, you're going to see a lot of people rethink these, and you may see a lot more regionality within these conferences, almost to the point where it may become kind of like what you do with track. You know, track, you really only get together for your conference meet. You just play everybody within a certain region, make sure you get enough Division I or Division II competition, but we're talking Division I at this level. You may see a lot more of things like that, especially in these non-revenue sports, Brian, because these conferences are so large now. Now, will it happen in 2025, 26? No. But somebody's going to wake up and realize, I can't keep sending my softball team out here like that. And if we don't do something and change our minimum number of conference games and then allow us to play just more regional games, we're going to have some problems. We're going to wind up cutting sports. And Brian, the one thing we haven't discussed out of all of this, what are the Title IX implications with all this stuff, man?
As I said. All right. Let's take a short break and finish up the show with that rivalry discussion that we have been hyping up for so long, since the beginning of the show. And let's get into the top 5 historical football rivalries. And then maybe some of the more recent rivalries in HBCU football that have captured our attention. And better question, how do you guys define a rivalry? I promise.
We're chat right now while we're on break. How do you define a rivalry?
How do you define a rivalry? All right. Coming up.
Check the note I sent to you also during the break, Brian.
Where did you send it to me at?
Private.
Okay. All right. Coming up right on the other side. What's a rivalry? How do you define a rivalry? Who are the top football rivalries over historically and over the past 25 years? We're going to finish up strong here. We're a little overtime, so you're getting some overtime BCSN Sports Wrap. Hang tight. We'll be back in just a moment. Drew, Brian, we'll be back in a moment.
Football fans, HBCU football is back in the ATL with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff. Representing the MEAC, North Carolina Central, and representing the SWAC, Southern, Eagles, Jaguars, the Marching Sound Machine, the Human Jukebox. The kickoff trophy is up for grabs, and bragging rights are on the line. The rivalry is real. Bring the family and join us pre-game for the fun-filled Coca-Cola fan experience, including band jamborees, food, activations, and fellowship. For tickets and information, visit MEACSWACChallenge.com.
It's like a loop machine. Going around town, trying to get down.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU Sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN Sports Wrap. Bryan and Drew here. Make sure you guys hit the thumbs up and the like button if you would, wherever you're watching us from. If you're watching us on Facebook, Black College Sports Network, or our BCSN Sports Wrap page, or if you're watching on YouTube, the JBN online channel, or the BCS Sports Wrap, hit the thumbs up, like button, and we appreciate you. There you go. Looks like we have a winner finally, Drew, in the U.S. Open.
Oh, that's going on. You know,
yeah, that's going on. JJ,
so my sports attention span is kind of going out the window.
JJ Spawn, who, if I'm not mistaken, is the guy who was the leader after day one. So he, I guess, I don't know if he qualifies as going wire to wire, but yeah, JJ Spawn. Just won the U.S. Open with a winning score, I think, of -1. He was the only golfer to finish under par.
Wow.
I don't know how, JJ Fade Spawn won. Yeah.
Or was this supposed to be JJ Fad?
Oh, I got it. JJ Fad. I'm looking at his haircut. He has a nice fade, though. So, I mean, maybe that's what I thought. JJ Fad. So, okay, I got you. All right. So we asked the question, rivalries, right?
I got a definition.
What defines a rivalry? See, Blue Jacket, it was a typo on his part. See, I knew it wasn't. See, he put fade, F-A-D-E, when he should have put F-A-D, and I would have got it right off the bat. But he put fade in there. So it wasn't me, it was him. Just saying. All right. So from electrifying matchups, I mean, obviously, we can go more recent, post-COVID, right? We can also look into the past 25 years, since we are 25 years since the turn of the century, or we can go from a more historical perspective. What do you define as a rivalry, Drew?
Well, let me give you what Google defines.
Oh, you Googled it. I want to hear your version first. Go ahead. Give me your Google version.
In sports, a rivalry is an intense, ongoing competition between two teams or athletes, often characterized by strong emotion, history, and a sense of animosity. Rivalries can stem from various factors, including proximity, historical encounters, shared championships, and even cultural or social differences. These competitions can be a major source of excitement and entertainment for fans, but they can also lead to negative behavior if not managed properly. So the key characteristics: intense competition, emotional investment, historical context, sense of us versus them, potential for negative behaviors. So those are some of the things that you want to look at. Look, Bryan, I'm gonna take from Florida A&M's perspective. For us, if you want to talk about a post SWAC, first joining SWAC rivalry in football, there would only be one, Bryan, for FAMU since joining the SWAC, and that would be Jackson State.
The key part of that, though, since joining the SWAC.
Since joining the SWAC, everybody from Jackson State in the chat.
It's only 4 years.
And the reason why: intense, strong emotion,
check.
Sense of animosity,
check.
Shared championships,
check.
So, those are some of the main characteristics, because first of all, until both teams have won, you cannot consider it a rivalry, in my opinion. Okay. So for 3 years, the only loss these two teams had was to each other. Not the only way that they knocked each other out of the championship was to each other until last year when FAMU laid the egg with Valley.
Mm-hmm. I know what you're saying.
But prior to that, that game determined the East Division champion, which ultimately determined the SWAC champion.
Right.
That's why right now for Florida A&M, in the past 4 years since joining the SWAC in football, the only rival would be Jackson State.
Okay.
To start off with the current.
Well, I like everything that you said. I like everything that you said about what a rivalry is. And I think to have a rivalry, right, there has to be, and we have to not let ourselves be prisoners of the moment, because I think it is easy to be prisoners of the moment. For the FAMU Jackson State thing that you mentioned, that is a new thing.
I say we're talking the last since joining the SWAC. That's why I'm justifying right now.
But I want to get back in the terms of just saying what a rivalry is, right? The historical presence of the rivalry, I love that definition, because I really think, despite some lopsided series, the fact that when you play somebody for a long period of time, that's where the animosity builds up, right? When you play somebody for nearly a century, right?
Which is fine, but that's not how I define it in this sense. I can get to those, but I was just going over the last since joining the SWAC.
I'm just saying that I think there's so many different ways to look at a rivalry, and so I think we all have to be open to being able to look at rivalries from
different angles,
from right in front of our face to being, 50 or 25, 50, or nearly 100 years away, right? I think we all have to be open to that. And I'll go so far as, how many real rivals can you have? I think everybody will probably narrow it down to maybe 2 or 3. Like, if everybody looks at their schedule, you've got, again, we sometimes will talk about success in terms of, who you have to beat, and the measuring stick of a coach can lose a game. For example, we were talking about Florida A&M. James Colsey can lose a home winning streak. He can lose an opportunity to play for a SWAC title, but he turns around and beats his rival at the end of the season, Drew. He goes into the offseason feeling pretty damn good about himself. The team can feel good about themselves. And the alumni base, while we may be a little sore about losing a home game to Valley, may be sore about losing a chance to play for a SWAC title, at the end of the day, you can say, well, at least we didn't lose to Bethune-Cookman. So, all right, let's go into it for another year, right? So, okay, so let's do this.
And wait, hold on. It's interesting that you say that. What was one of the reasons, Brian, that Connell Maynard reportedly lost his job?
Yeah.
Because he had not beaten Eddie Robinson Jr.
But he
since
lost.
Eddie Robinson Jr.
came on board. So that's three years. So Eddie Robinson has beaten Maynard 3-0.
Yes.
Yeah. And these are all post Maynard winning the SWAC championship in that spring season. Right?
Yes.
So, you're not winning a SWAC title. You're not getting to the SWAC championship game, and you're losing to the in-state rival. Yeah. Fans get fed up. Fans start losing hope. And the last thing you want to do is have people losing hope. Now, if he had just won one of those 3 games, would he still be coaching at A&M? Maybe so.
What was one of the reasons, and I don't know if we go back to Fobbs and Odom's, Grambling and Southern.
I think that was Odoms who was winning that series, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I got to go back and look. But all right, so let's talk the more recent. You just mentioned the FAMU Jackson State thing. So let's say post-COVID.
Post-COVID. Post-SWAC merger.
Okay. Post-COVID SWAC merger also kind of coincides with the dissolution a little bit of the MEAC, where you've lost 3 important schools, right? You lost A&T, Hampton, and those two. There was the third, I think, in Tennessee State is long gone, but that's not it. So you lost Hampton and A. So all that sort of coincides post-COVID, right?
Actually, Savannah State. Savannah State right before COVID.
Okay, I got you. Okay. All right. So top 3 rivalries in Black college football over the past 5 years, Drew. You already named Jackson State, FAMU. I will agree with you on that one. What's another one? And we're just going to go for here, top 3. Top 3. Keep it simple.
If over the last 5 years, how about Howard Central?
But
think about it.
Central.
They knocked both of them. Knocked that one game determined the MEAC championship 2 consecutive years.
Well,
and Brian, let's think about it. Let's think about the going for 2 went up 5 touchdowns and everything, and the 50 and all that stuff and all the jawing that went back and forth. You can't tell me that currently that is not this definition that I just gave you as a rival.
And let me say something, because I don't want to mislead you guys here in the chat. We're going to break this down in 3 different ways. We're going to break down the narrow view past 5 years post-COVID. We're also going to break this down from the past 25 years, century, and then also expand it into historical. So we're 3 levels here. So bear with us. So I know I agree with you. I agree with you, Ram Nation. 5 years is pretty narrow, but that's where we're starting. We're going to start there. So just bear with us. Bear with us right here. I like that though. I'll give you the Central Howard game. It's a game that, because of where the MEAC is now, they're the two teams who have been relevant since the departures and split of other schools. So I would go there. Who else? And this doesn't have to be just Division I.
Oh well, I was gonna give you a possible D2.
Okay.
To consider.
Go ahead.
How about State and Union?
I was thinking Virginia State and Union.
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking
last 5 years, especially last year when they rematched in back-to-back weeks.
And I don't think it was that long ago. The water bucket play was what year?
It was pre-COVID, like 18 or 19.
Pre-COVID. Okay. But it still sits fresh in my mind, like it happened right after COVID, though, for some reason.
Yes. Those would be my three that I would go with in most recent in the last 5 years.
Steve said, State and Union love each other. How about the Miles versus Tuskegee thing? I know we were trying to narrow it to post-COVID, but that almost has
but even post-COVID. Let's think about that post-COVID. Okay. Ruffin whoops up on Slater and then comes and takes Slater's job the next year.
Yeah.
Then he goes, he coaches for 1 year, he goes back and whoops up on Shade to the school he used to work at to come for not I said Shade. I meant Sam Shade.
Sam Shade. Yeah, Sam Shade was at my
to turn around and then they got to the SIAC championship to turn around 2 years later and Sam Shade beats up on Aaron James to get to the SIAC championship and has to go through who? Tuskegee. So you got the proximity. You've got the fact that they trading personnel back and forth to those two coaching staffs know each other so well. And the fact that each one of them had to beat the other one to get to the championship game, and each one of them did beat the other one to get to a championship game.
I like that because
yes.
Yeah, I do like that because of the simple fact that in this immediate time, you know, the fact that you've had battles for titles and championships had mattered. I like that.
And some of y'all missing the point of the discussion right now.
Again, we're
going last 5 years, everybody.
Again, we're doing 3 parts here. Part 1 is immediate rivalries past 5 years. Like, what are the games that excite you? I mean, let's keep it real here. Okay. Because even some of our classics haven't really excited because they don't really mean anything. I mean, yes, they mean something, but they haven't determined. They haven't determined the outcome.
Look,
of a title.
Until Texas Southern beat Prairie View this past year, that series was a dud.
Yeah. Johnny disagrees. Johnny disagrees that Central and
last 5 years.
Howard, Johnny, there's 3 parts.
Last 5 years.
We appreciate the donation, Johnny. We appreciate the donation. We're talking 5-year short time span. Part 1 is the short immediacy. And I know we're just talking the past 3 of the 5 years, but let's be honest. Is there any game in the MEAC that we are more interested in right now? I mean, yes, we're sort of interested in Delaware State versus Norfolk State, but the only reason we're interested in that is because we're really just trying to gauge where Jackson and Vic are as coaches. But
the only other game in the MEAC would possibly have been Central and South Carolina State. But especially since Buddy Pugh is gone, last year it didn't have that same luster. And the fact that Central has dominated A&T, the last few years,
A&T's been really bad.
is why you cannot put them in this discussion. Now they may be in the discussion for the next section, Brian, but in this discussion, you cannot put A&T in Central, and we know the significance of that rivalry. I am not poo-pooing the rivalry, but in the last 5 years, it's been Central. And what did I say? Is my definition? You have to have both teams winning in order to be on this list.
Have we? Really, what series has had the intensity of the three that we've named? I can't think of anyone outside. I mean, I feel like maybe I'm missing one. I don't know. Who am I missing? Because now here's the thing. We saw last year, we saw some teams win games that were bad and win games. We seen Johnson C. Smith win some games. We saw Winston-Salem State win games. But really, prior to last year, both programs were bad. Howard can't beat Hampton. So we can't include that. Bowie State and Virginia, Bowie State has sort of fallen off of what we knew them to be. They're not the same Bowie State.
I'm gonna give you another one, Brian. How about Big State, Little State? Because Little State is
Big State, Little State. Help me out here. I'm drawing a blank.
Norfolk and Virginia State. And the fact that Virginia State has beaten Norfolk a couple of times.
Not a couple of times. Only beat them once.
I thought they beat them twice in the last few years.
No, I think it was a close game.
I'm sorry, I got it backwards. Man.
Steve said Virginia State is Big State. See,
they are.
Yeah. Even though Virginia State is a Division II school and Norfolk State is a Division I school, it's kind of ironic. I think it was a close game. Yeah, Norfolk State won, but it was a close game.
Right, but considering that rivalry already, and then the fact that in theory, the D2 beat the D1.
All right.
Big State beat Little State. It's just something to put on the list.
Okay, I don't know. I'm not buying.
Brian, remember what I said? You got to have a victory on both sides.
You got to have a victory on both sides.
You got a victory on both sides.
But see, he says 2017. That Virginia State win happened in 20. Yeah, 23.
It was recent.
Yeah, Virginia State beat Norfolk State in 23, not just 17. I do agree with this. Or you have to be a football historian to kind of understand that.
Until Alabama State beats Jackson State, they can't go on my list, Chip.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we can have all the post-game commentary, which is great, but Alabama State hadn't beaten Jackson State since the COVID year when they flashed up the must be the money picture of Dion. They haven't beat them since. All right. Let's go wider picture here, Drew. 25 years, past 25 years. We talked about the turn of the century. Okay. Now, this is where I think some of you guys are because this is right in our wheelhouse. Like for a lot of you, this is like probably right
post-graduation.
Yes. For a lot of our viewers, this is like you were either in college or you had graduated college. So we're talking the past 25 years. Rivalries, right? That have blossomed and have actually meant something over the past 25 years. Let's kind of go back and forth with this one. I think I can say, and I feel confident in saying, North Carolina A&T versus South Carolina State is a rivalry over the past 25 years that, even though, yes, it may not be intense over the last couple of years, it has its merits, it has its volume. Let me kind of pull up
I was gonna pull up the history.
You have it. Pull up what you have. I want to see what I can pull up here quickly. According to
where is SWAC? Okay, you said, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So for South Carolina State, now this is good. South Carolina State, North Carolina A&T, right? And I mentioned over the past, 25 years, right? You had a period of time when, South Carolina State and A&T were running the MEAC. On South Carolina State ledger, this is the third most opponent that they've played, right? And they've actually beat A&T 32 of the 59 times, according to my source that I'm looking at. 32, 25, and 2 is the record for South Carolina State. But if you go and look at how many championships have been won by both schools, let me see how quickly I can go to MEAC Sports and see if I can pull up how many championships. What are your thoughts on that rivalry, first off, Drew? And while maybe you comment on that while I kind of look and see if I can find how quickly I can pull up championships between those two schools. Did I lose you?
No, I was just, yeah, you said 59 meetings, 32, 25, and 2.
Yeah.
Over the last, since 1940.
Right.
Yeah, you are correct. And A&T has owned the rivalry, but yes, it has been there, Brian.
No, A&T hasn't owned the rivalry. Actually, it's South Carolina State.
Let me rephrase that.
And
has owned the championship portion of it.
Owning 32 to 25 to 2. I don't know if that's saying.
No, when it comes to championships, in the last,
okay.
Are we in the last 25 years, or are we talking historical?
We're in the 25-year period here.
Yeah. A&T would have more championships in that time, I believe, than South Carolina State.
My source that I'm trying to pull up is running slow, so I apologize. I was trying to see how quickly I could pull up. But I know there was a period here during the 2010s where the 2010s and even in the early 2020s, you had some good games that were rival. Obviously, you had the Buddy Pugh era. You had the Broadway era, which led to the Sam Washington era. So, you had all of that in there. Hold on, I finally got the doggone thing pulled up here, and I can tell you about the championships here. I think I can tell you. Ridiculous. Statistical data. All right. I don't know if I can pull. Let me see. I don't know. Hold on if I can pull it up here, Drew. This is I don't know.
Here we go.
You found it?
Yes.
All right. Tell me what you got.
We're going since the year 2000.
Right. Don't forget, in the 2000s, you had, and again, we're talking the South Carolina State, North Carolina A&T.
It's 6-5. No, it's actually tied 6-6, Brian, in championships.
Okay.
Yes, 6-6.
All right. There was a period, and I just pulled it up here, between, let's see, 2021 and 2013, where one of those schools had a taste of the championship. Actually, I can go even further back and go back to 2008. Nope.
No.
Significantly, you said it was 6-6?
Yes. Championships each.
All right. I'm just looking at something that has all right. Well, I'll take your word on it. It looks like they're because those 6, the last 6 were probably more A&T over a more recent period of time, and the first 6 was probably more Central.
And then, of course, you know how we do in the SIAC, we do a lot of codes. So, since 2013, A&T or South Carolina State has won the championship every year. Yes, you are correct, except for, and yeah, Brian, we can even, all the way out to 21 every year except for 2015 when Bethune won. I'm sorry, when 2016 when Central won. That would be the only time one of those two schools did not win at least a share of the MEAC championship.
Okay. Now, the history
including Brian, including in 2019 when the two teams shared the MEAC championship.
Of course, they shared it because it's the MEAC.
But A&T went to the Celebration Bowl.
All right, go with another one here. Let's go with another one, Drew. Quickly here.
Well, Brian, you got to throw the Bayou in there.
Definitely. Past 25 years, definitely. How many championships were decided because
or at least
of the Bayou Classic?
Or at least the division portion of it.
Well, yeah, the division. How many? Yeah, exactly. So that point, you're saying division titles, which would have been the West Division between Southern and Grambling. How many times did Southern and Grambling play in a SWAC championship between that time period? But I also think the significance of the past 25 years, right, could also be summarized by the fact, Drew, that you've had a strong attendance, 60,000 plus practically every year. You've had television, major network television before. I mean, we talked about how historic last year was for HBCU football, but there was a time period where the only big time game that you would get was the Southern Grambling game. That was your marquee classic, right? Because it was on NBC.
Right. Brian, since 1997, only 7 times have Grambling nor Southern come out of the West.
And that 7 times is probably the Alcorn State years.
No,
Alcorn was in the East.
Alcorn was in the East. I'll give you those years. Since
you don't have to give me the year. But go ahead. I'm just messing. Go ahead.
I'll give them to you. First time was 2006 when UAPB won the West.
Oh, wow. Jesus.
Next time, 2009, Prairie View won the West. 2010, Texas Southern won the West but vacated the West. 2012, the when UAPB won the West. Skip all the way to the spring season, Brian, when UAPB won the West. And then in 21 and 23, where Prairie View won the West.
All right.
So that I think that goes on the list, Brian.
Let me see what the guys in the chat rooms have come up with here. Past 25 years. Past 25 years. Let me see if I get anybody. See if anybody from the this. I mean, I would definitely say over the 25 years, Southern Jackson State. I would include that in the past 25-year discussion easily. The boombox. I mean, how do you not? And that not only game, but the band component, I think, adds to that game, and still does. It's one of the games that ESPN always looks to feature when they can, right?
Right.
I will just say over the 25 years, Drew, I will have to include the Bethune-FAMU Florida Classic from two different vantage points here. One, next to the Bayou, there was a period of time when the second or maybe even the top classic was the Florida Classic, where they were drawing 60, upwards of close to 70,000 at the Florida Classic. When it moved from Tampa to Orlando, there was a big growth period for that event. And then combine the years where FAMU had a strong win. There have been two different periods. Like over the past 25 years, and I'm just saying 25 years, that series is probably more 50-50 than it has ever been in any other iteration. I mean, look, the series has been over 75 years. The first 50 years was dominated by Florida A&M.
Right.
But the past 25, it's actually been pretty even.
But the problem with that even, Brian,
including a decade where Bethune-Cookman won that thing for 9 straight years.
That's what I was going to say. That's the big thing. That's the last 20 plus years. That thing has been very cyclical, where one team dominates for a run, and then the other team dominates for a run. There rarely been that back and forth for multiple years. I'm gonna give you another one, Brian, and I'm gonna go down to the Division II level for this one, Brian.
Please, yeah. We want to give them some love, right? Give them some love.
How about the Fountain City Classic? Albany State, Fort Valley.
Okay, give some background on that. Give some background, because I don't know if a lot of people are too familiar about that.
Held annually in Columbus, Georgia. Two of the state institutions in the state of Georgia, and you're talking about just the back and forth and two teams that hate each other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have. Let's see if I can pull up the series between them.
Oh, I've got it. I just pulled it up. It's amazing. Amazing. You want to know the numbers?
Go ahead.
Fort Valley State and Albany State overall, right, have met 87 times.
Mm-hmm.
87 times. Fort Valley has a 42, 41, and 4 record. So basically, Drew,
that's the definition of a rival.
42, 41, and 4. That means Fort Valley State has one more win than Albany State, and they have tied 4 times. And that is over an 87-year period. 87 years. So, I mean, that right there. Now, I don't know, do you have the statistical data over the past 25 years of the Fountain City Classic, or?
No, I hadn't, but
okay.
But it's pretty much the same.
No. I mean, when you can do 42, 40, I don't know if now that I think about it, Drew, we've been scouring through a lot of these matchups and series that I haven't come across anybody that's that close. 42, 41, and 4. I mean, damn, that's basically a coin flip every year.
Yes.
Anything? What about 25 years? Past 25 years? Where would you put the Magic City Classic at? Past 25 years, held in Legion Field, the largest HBCU Classic in Alabama. It has strongly drawn plus 55,000 almost every year, upwards of 60,000. It is, again, when people have talked about the most large or the largest attended classics, you have the Bayou, Magic City, Florida Classic. Usually those three, and maybe every now and then, let me see, what else might jump in there? Those are the top three. Usually, traditionally, those are the top three classics.
Hey, Brian. I think I found one that competes with what you're talking about, Brian.
Over the past 25 years, or just what?
Overall.
Okay.
How about Magic City Classic? 41, 42, and 3.
In favor
of Alabama A&M. Alabama A&M was a one-game lead.
Wow. That's practically the same then. I mean, 40, yeah, so it's practically the same. So, okay, then there you go. There you go. I think that would qualify then as a past 25-year rivalry. What else? Any other rivalries? Let's see. Just kind of going through the. I heard a couple. I see a couple of people mention Alcorn and Jackson State.
Definitely. Proximity.
The Soul Bowl, Capital City Classic, as it's known. Here's my question about that rivalry. And I'll admit, if I'm too close to the sun on this, feel free to educate me. Is that classic more regional or state? Or is it something that captures national attention? Like, I feel like because of television, I feel like the Bayou captures the national interest because of television. I can't say that the Jackson State Alcorn game
that's more of a
national audience.
I think that's more of a good regional rivalry. But Brian, let's be real.
Edwin, you might be right on that.
I was gonna say, really, outside of the Bayou, all of our classics are regionals.
Okay, that's fair.
The only other one, Brian, and this would go as we transition to our historical, that may have been more national would have been the Atlanta Classic with FAMU and Tennessee State. And once again, we may be too close to that one also. But I think on the national level,
FAMU Southern in Atlanta. I thought you were going to say. I thought FAMU and Southern might have been more.
But that was more of a blip in Atlanta. Whereas that when the Tennessee State
they had some great games. They had some great
games. What I mean, a blip was it wasn't as sustained as FAMU Tennessee State. FAMU Tennessee. Well, I could give you FAMU Southern because they had the history that they moved it to Atlanta. So if you take the totality of it, then you may be right.
The 90s, just a decade. And see here, we can look back on a series again, and we're outside of our spectrum here. So I'll say that outside of the 25 years. So I'm looking for something like that. Like the 90s was defined by FAMU and Southern. Of course, we're talking post that. past 25 years.
Hold on, let me put that back up on by
the Winston-Salem State, Virginia State, Virginia Union rather.
But Ram Nation,
23-1.
But Ram Nation, despite the closeness in the record of those two between those two teams, would you truly consider Union your rival? That's the question. I said record is only one portion of it. But would you truly consider them a rival? That's the question that I would have with that. Let's move to historical, Brian.
All right. So what we tried to do is we tried to look at the more recent you know what we didn't have on, we didn't talk about? A&T and Central. North Carolina A&T, North Carolina Central. Now, that over the past 25 years, is that? Look, I'm not in North Carolina, but
Brian, until and
we got Johnny in the room. Johnny's watching. I want to hear from Johnny.
Until Central moved up to the Division I level, I don't think it was the same type of rivalry. It was more of a Tuskegee and Alabama State rivalry, a Norfolk and Virginia Union rivalry when they were on two different levels. And let's keep in mind, Central didn't move up until 2009.
Okay. I'm just curious. We had it in our notes, A&T and Central. So I would love to hear those thoughts of those of you who are in the North Carolina region. Central would beat them from time to time. See?
That's what I mean. I don't think it was a good clash, but a true definition of a rivalry. But the one thing that they have,
we're talking football. So again, that's it too.
Right. But the one thing they had was proximity.
They did proximity, yes. What is it they always refer? We hear though they refer to each other.
The school down the road, the school down the highway.
There you go.
Because they refuse to call each other by name.
I love that. Yes. Always good times. Okay. So historically, okay, we talk about rivalries and matchups, and we're going to give our top 5 historical rivalries. Okay. So we talk about what's the historical significance of these matchups, right? Or traditions in these rivalries being passed down to newer fans. Like, can you speak on these rivalries in 2 to 3 generations? And then look,
I'll give you some. 2 of them, 2 of the ones I want to list involve one school is on the list twice. Actually, one school may be on the list 3 times.
Well, I was going to ask the last part about these historical rivalries are about when somebody wins or when somebody is having a good run. Does it increase enrollment? Does it increase support, fan bases? I mean, think about the attendance of these games. Do the attendance go up when one team is winning and when one team is having a good season? I don't know. All right, Drew, let's go with number 5 on the list. Now, again, this is top 5.
Is this your list or this our list?
Well, I'll take ownership of the list because I know you may or may not disagree. So feel free. I'll tell you where I think it is, and then you can agree or disagree with the ranking.
Okay, let's go.
Let me hear number 5. Number 5. It comes up here.
No.
Morehouse Tuskegee Classic.
No.
Number 5.
No.
First meeting was in 1902.
Yes.
Considered the oldest continuous HBCU football rivalry. 92 meetings. Okay. I think that's pretty significant. And actually the opponent is the most each team has not played anyone else more than they played this opponent. Like
Right.
Morehouse has not played anyone more than Tuskegee. Tuskegee has not played anyone more than Morehouse. But Tuskegee does have a 65-22-5 record. So Tuskegee has practically owned this record. So,
and that's why, because I have been on both sides of this, that's why I cannot put this on the top 5. Tuskegee does not consider Morehouse a rival of that level. Morehouse, they want to beat Morehouse, don't get me wrong. But because Tuskegee has owned it by a 3-to-1 ratio, Tuskegee looks at Morehouse with a level of, and I hate to say this, the fact that I work at Morehouse, with a level of disrespect. I keep it real, even though I work for the other one. I try to keep it real. Let's go to number 4. I'm gonna replace. That's the one I'm gonna replace.
Well, how about this question here by Ram Nation?
It is older, but it's not consecutive.
All right.
Because that was the first HBCU football game.
Right. So it does get that distinction of being the first.
Right.
Definitely. Okay.
But it doesn't have the consecutive portion.
Consecutive
like
portion.
This
so
we'll lean.
I'm leaning in a little bit on the consecutive portion. All right. Here you go. This one might be controversial. Howard versus Hampton. First meeting, 1908. Now, overrated. They have met 90. Now, according to my research, they have met 99 times heading into this season, which this season would mark the 100th game between these two schools. Now, granted, over the past 25 years, this has been all Hampton. So this is why I affectionately call the Bison Howard, and I lose the H when these two teams play.
What was the Biddle College?
You might even need to go with that, because Hampton has owned
somebody
H.
theological school. That's
something.
What
yeah.
Howard was.
Yeah. Hampton has owned this series over the past. Hampton's on an 8-game winning streak. They even had a period from 97 to 2010 where they won 14 consecutive years. So, I mean, that's 20. Let me see. 14. That's how many? 14 plus 8. That's 22 of the past 26 years have been dominated by Hampton. Look, I can't help her out on this. She knows she hates me around this time, because she was like, why do I keep calling it Howard? And I keep saying, because they own your H. So I mean, so it is what it is. Okay. Let me move away from this one. Overrated, so many people say. All right, let's go to number 3. You don't add this in your top 5, Drew, huh?
Let me see what the other 3 are.
All right, number 3. The Florida Classic. Now, this one, Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman have been playing since 1925. It is, I believe, each school's, if it's not, it's one of the top 2 or 3 opponents, if not number 1. I know it is number 1 for FAMU, and I think it might be number 1 for Bethune. I'm just checking here real quick. It is. So for both schools, it is the rival that they've played. Obviously, we understand both schools are in Central A&T over FAMU, but really, you would come on now, stop it. I think the attendance has been interesting. The numbers, the attendance have, for a period of time, again, as mentioned, over the, since the move from Tampa to Orlando, it's moved. The attendance has been in the 50,000 up to close to 70,000. It is not a rival in terms of closeness, in terms of wins. Overall, FAMU has won 54 of the 75 meetings. So that's 2/3 of the meetings have been won by FAMU. Again, but over the past 25 years, a little bit different story. Drew, is this in your top 5?
Possibly.
Possibly. Okay. Number 2. The Turkey Day Classic between Tuskegee and Alabama State. First meeting in 1924. Considered one of the oldest Black college football classics. Keyword, classics. Held on Thanksgiving Day. Now, I think what's interesting about this is you had a period from the very first meeting up until 1971 that these two teams met, right? So that whatever that consecutive streak was, I think that was close to 50 some odd years or close to it, maybe just a little shy of 50, where these two teams met. And obviously you had a break in 71. They picked up again from 72 to 86. Tuskegee has a 46-37-1 winning record.
It's worse than that, Brian. You missing?
Oh, is it?
You missing the first 20 years of that rivalry in that number that you gave. But Tuskegee does own that rivalry.
Okay.
Still.
And
it's at least a decade and a half before Alabama State can catch them. Despite the fact I think Alabama State has won 4 or 5 in a row.
Yes, I think more recently they have won, but yeah. All right, so that's number 2. Again, we're in the historical portion of the rivalry debate here, so you guys don't freak out here. I know, we remember we started right in front of our face last 4 or 5 years, then we moved to 25 years since the turn of the century, and then we went historical. So number 1, and I think Adrian is kind of on to it right there. Number 1, Bayou Classic, Grambling Southern. They've met 76 times, Grambling and Southern have. They've met 51 times in New Orleans in the Superdome, or whatever it is now called. I'll always call it the Superdome, like the Mercedes Superdome. I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, that's been since 74, right? Where they've met there. But obviously, the national television draw is significant and why this ranks as number 1, because you have seen this more on national television than any of the other classics. And so that is a major distinction that we had growing up. We didn't get national television pictured and captured rivalries that we still hold on to today. Auburn, Alabama, Florida, Florida State, Michigan, Ohio State. National television brought Grambling Southern into the spotlight of a Michigan, Ohio State, right? It brought us into that era, and it familiarized many folks with classics. So all the other classics we've mentioned, like, they've had great histories, they still do, but they never. And maybe I'd love to be able to know, and I don't know if there's ever been a documentary, what was it that drew NBC to this classic, Grambling Southern? I would love to know that. But anyway, so there's the top 5, Drew. There's my top 5. Again, number 1, there it is, Grambling Southern. Number 2, Tuskegee, Alabama State. Number 3, Bethune, FAMU. Number 4, Howard, Hampton. And number 5 was the Morehouse Tuskegee Classic. Again, that's historical classics.
Right. Let me give you some food for thought, Brian.
Right.
Some of your listeners are probably going to argue with and put on the list that need to be under consideration. How about Southern Jackson State?
Okay.
Doesn't have a name, doesn't need a name. It's just Southern and Jackson State.
It has a name, Boombox Classic.
No, that's not the name of the game.
I'm just telling you.
That's the name of the battle of the bands between the two.
Okay.
The game is Southern Jackson State.
All right.
I'm gonna keep Southern on the list for another one. What I said,
wait a minute. Okay. If you're putting that in your top 5, who are you kicking out? If you're putting Southern Jackson State. Are we talking historical? We're talking historical.
Yeah, I'm talking
at this
historical.
point, Drew.
Wait a minute,
okay, so who are you moving?
I'm giving you food for thought right now. I'm giving you food for thought. Okay. Because you also have to keep Southern on the list and put them against Florida A&M. Because up until 1999, that was one of the best rivalries in HBCU football.
Okay.
I mean, you talking Pete Richardson, Jake Gaither, you talking about one of those rivalries. We left Magic City off of there somehow.
Okay. Again, you're 5. Who are you taking out?
Alabama State and Alabama A&M.
Okay.
I already mentioned it earlier. And maybe I'm a little biased because I've been to it. But the Fountain City, Fort Valley, Albany State. You definitely have to put that one into consideration. And let's be real. The Livingstone Johnson C matchup. The first HBCU game, every time those two replay that game. So that's another 5 that you should definitely consider, Brian, on that list.
Okay, I'll strongly consider. I have no problem considering, but again, if you're inputting one of those 5 or 4 that you mentioned, who are you taking out of mine?
I'm taking Tuskegee Morehouse out.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Let me see. Let me see if I go to your list right quick. Who was number 4? I'm taking Howard Hampton out, definitely.
Okay.
Southern versus either one of those other 2 teams that I named, FAMU or Jackson State, goes on this list before Howard Hampton. Definitely. So those are the 2 that would be up for consideration. And honestly, Brian, I'm gonna leave it on there. But I was thinking about I might even pull it on the Florida Classic. Florida Classic is definitely in danger. First 2, solid. I'll leave the first 2 on there. The other 3 are up for debate for me.
All right. So you agree with the top 2,
yes,
which are the Grambling Southern game,
yes,
and the Tuskegee Alabama State.
Correct.
Okay.
Definitely agree with those.
But you're replacing the Florida Classic at 3 with
possibly.
Oh, come on, commit.
No. I can make okay. The 2 Southern games, and I don't want to keep Southern on there 3 times.
Yeah, we didn't make any stipulations that you can only have one game.
No,
although
but
that
I'm
would
saying,
be nice. That would be
realistically, Southern. Everybody hates Southern, y'all. In this football space,
used to.
As far as a rivalry go, our generation before, nobody liked Southern. Southern was everybody's enemy. That's why Southern could possibly be on here 3 times. And that's something that you need for a rival, Brian. We lost that after 1999 in Tallahassee. So that's why that one might not make the historical list, because we lost in 1999 and trying to rebuild it. That's why I might keep the Florida Classic on there. But Southern Jackson State definitely goes in.
All right. So if you leave the Florida Classic in, and I get it,
I'm putting Magic City and Southern Jackson State in, but I dropped Florida Classic down to 5.
Okay, so you drop in Florida Classic to 5. You insert Southern Jackson State, and you add in the Magic City Classic.
Magic City, yes.
Okay. I like it. I can't. I'm not going to argue with you. I mean, it's a good list. I appreciate you putting in replacements. Now, if you could only put one school into this list and you could only have one Southern matchup, which would you want? The Grambling or the Jackson State? Because I think that's the only school. Oh, hold on. And then I'm going to ask you the same thing for Alabama State. You can only have one Alabama State opponent.
And I just took care of your other problem because I just pulled Tuskegee off.
You did.
Because Tuskegee was on the list twice.
Okay. So I got 2 questions then. You can only have one Southern and only one Alabama State. Which one you pulling off?
Gotta leave the Bayou on. Gotta leave Grambling State on.
Okay.
And
so that means Southern Jackson State gone.
Ooh.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it wasn't me, Israel, it was Drew. See? Just trying to tell you.
As tough as that is, oh my God, because the Alabama State is, and I've been in.
Come on now, you're on the fence. Jump on the one
I
side.
am, because both of those. I mean, I leave Magic City on right now because Tuskegee, Alabama State currently is not what it's been historically. So I'm going because it has sustained the Magic City. I got to leave them on the list and remove Turkey Day. Does that make sense?
No. Explain that again.
Turkey Day, Alabama State, Tuskegee has fell off in the last 20 years.
Okay.
When I went to
this is the historical portion,
right?
Of
but
I'm
taking the whole history. But Alabama State, Alabama A&M has still maintained that level over the last 20 years. So because of that little slight dip over the last 20 years, I have to pull that off. I have to pull that Turkey Day off.
Okay.
And the one thing that killed it is when they left Crampton Bowl and went to their own campus stadium.
All right. So now who's your top 5?
So what do I got left? I got
Magic
City, Bayou. You got Florida Classic. Okay, what am I missing?
You can't have the Turkey Day. You can't have Jackson State Southern.
I can't have Morehouse Tuskegee. So I have to put in. What else did I leave on? What else did I leave out?
You were praising about the Fountain City Classic.
Okay, I'm going. I would have to go Fountain City.
And would you put the Tuskegee Morehouse back in?
I can't put Tuskegee Morehouse in. I can put Tuskegee Morehouse back in now.
Yeah.
Because Tuskegee is gone.
Yes, they are.
All right, so I'm gonna go with the 2D2 games.
As 4 and 5?
Yes.
Okay.
Howard Hampton still is not on the list.
I just went from a historical perspective here. You guys don't beat me up too bad. But again, I went with the rule of not having to
Yes, I am. Fan interest has dropped. Just the atmosphere around the game has totally changed. And maybe part of it is because I'm getting older. Because I've been around that game since I was in college. But the game just does not have the same feel. Doesn't have the same type of crowds. Heck, the parade ain't even the same, bro. But they started experimenting with that game too much. You know, they moved the Turkey Day to a Saturday at one point in time for a few years, and then Tuskegee dropped out of the Turkey Day Classic and ended the rivalry. So those are factors in that 20-year decline that I'm talking about, Brian. They started playing with it, and things have not gotten back to that level. And then, of course, like I said, even though nothing against ASU Hornet Stadium, because it's a great facility, but when that game moved, something was lost in the boxes when they moved that game.
Right. Let me ask this question because I just looked it up. State Fair Classic. It's not that it's new, but EA, if me included, because I didn't grow up in Texas. I don't think of that. I think of that as Grambling Prairie View. But there is a history prior to Grambling and Prairie View, which they started playing each other in the State Fair Classic in 1985. But prior to that, really, if you want to be honest here, the State Fair Classic really is about Prairie View. That's the program that, according to the data that I'm looking at, with the exception of 1 year, maybe except for a few years in the early 1920s, Prairie View is the one school that's been in the State Fair Classic the most.
Right. And
they used to play Wiley, Texas Southern, other Texas-based colleges, Bishop. Yeah. It wasn't until 85 that they took on Grambling.
Right.
And there was even a year when North Carolina A&T played Grambling. Grambling played Elizabeth City State.
Yeah.
There was a couple years in there. But Grambling dominated during the Eddie Robinson era of the mid-'80s all the way until 2008. And then all of a sudden, something happened. Prairie View started winning.
Well, Grambling dominated because Prairie View didn't have no doggone scholarships for about 10 years.
Yeah, there's some like shutout win. I mean, there's some wins in here where Grambling beat Prairie View like 49-0, 66-0, 64-0. I mean, games weren't even close.
That was during the non-scholarship days.
Is that what that was? Okay.
Yes.
And then somehow in 2009, Prairie View beat them 35-32. In 2009.
That's when they started having scholarships again.
And that's when
Charles McClellan was athletic director.
Oh, okay. Look at you teaching some history.
Yeah. Yeah. Here it is.
Right. All right. Well, appreciate just wanted to give you guys some summer fodder, something to kind of get your juices wet as we try to think about the upcoming year and we think about the games that move the needle. Those are the games that we're going to move the needle. So there you go.
Before we go, Brian, want to get some basketball in. We have some rule changes that a lot of people may not be aware of, Brian, and I just want to quickly kind of go through those.
Yeah, quickly.
NCAA playing oversight panel on Tuesday approved changes to help enhance the flow of the game starting in 25-26. Changes include a coach's challenge at any point in the game to review out of bounds call, basket interference, or goaltending, and whether a secondary defender was within the RA, the restricted art. The panel also improved modifications on the rule on continuous motion on field goal attempts. What does that mean, Brian? Continuation is coming to the college game.
Oh boy.
Yes. There's been a little bit more leniency with it, but now it's official. Let's see. Under the coach's challenge rule, teams must have a timeout to request an instant replay review
That
challenge.
part. I love that part. I love that part, that you have to have timeouts.
If the instant replay review challenge is successful, the team will be allowed to have one additional video review challenge for the rest of the game, including overtime. If the first review challenge is unsuccessful, the team loses the ability to challenge the rest of the game. Now, that does not take away, Brian, what officials can already go to the monitor and
which
review.
is horrible. Which is horrible. They ought to get rid of that right here. What you're about to say, that needs to go away. That needs to go away.
Officials can initiate video reviews on basket interference.
No.
Restricted art plays in the last 2 minutes of the game and into overtime. They say data recalls minimal game interruptions.
So in essence, you're going to still give them.
Okay, hold on. Let me finish this. Officials cannot conduct video review on an out of bounds call unless through a coach's challenge. Previously they could go to the monitor on a boundary call.
But that's one of the three. But see, then you named the three other things.
Right. No, the officials could go on their own to the monitor. Now it has to be on a challenge.
No, but see, that's what I want to go away. I don't want that. I want the official. You make the call, unless it's a timing error. But even that is suspect because, sometimes I feel like the officials go to the video. I think they use that as a crutch, to be honest with you, Drew. I think the excuse of going to the monitor, or what they should do is really what they should implement is unless the coaches do the challenge thing, you cannot go to when the officials go to a review, all 5 players have to stand at the free throw line. They can be in the circle at the free throw line. They can't go to the sideline. I don't want them going to the side. I don't want to give you an extra timeout because that's what's been happening. No extra timeout unless you either call a timeout or you challenge.
Let me take this look.
In the last 2 minutes, the opposing, you go stand in the lane with your teammates. That's it. Now, if your coach wants to shout instructions from the sideline to you standing in the lane, I'm okay for that. I'm okay.
All
right. We don't. This is the whole idea. Is supposed to speed the game up, is it not?
Yeah. Let me give you some
stuff.
What are we doing? Here you go. The coach's challenge, however, does not impact the NCAA officials' voluntary use of instant replay for timing mistakes, scoring errors, shot clock violations, 2-point versus 3-point field goal attempts, and flagrants.
No. Do I look? Sure. Me as the coach, yes. But I'm talking about for the good of the game. The good of the game means that
the last 2 minutes can take 30.
Thank you.
I've been on the replay. I've ran replay for some games.
So my course correction here, either don't let all 5 players come to the huddle. Maybe one player. How about one player? Your point guard. Tell your point guard to come to you. One player can go to the quarterback. Exactly. One player can go to the coach, and then he has to go communicate to the rest of the team.
But you know why they do that, Brian?
No.
Because think about it. You have 2 officials at the monitor. You have 1 official on the court. Right?
Right.
They send the players to the bench for safety. Because if
stand in the lane. You can stand in the lane, but at the other end.
But it's visually, as an official, it's easy for me to see both benches versus my peripheral. I can focus on both benches. I cannot focus on both lanes. I have to have my head on a swivel, which is not good. That's why they send them to the benches. It's for safety purposes. Because if something happens, you can get it and you can penalize it accordingly. Let me get to some of these other rule changes because we're trying to get off this podcast.
Yeah, quickly.
Officials will have the option to call a flagrant 1 foul when a player is contacted in the groin. A flagrant 1 foul results in 2 free throws for the offended team and possession of the ball. Previously, officials could only call a common foul or a flagrant 2, in which the player received an ejection and the offended team received two free throws and the ball. I think that is great that they came up with that medium. If a player uses the rim to gain an advantage, it will because it is a basket interference violation. That's kind of obvious. I always thought that was in the rule book, but obviously it wasn't. If one of the shot clocks become inoperable, the shot clock at the other basket will remain on. Previously, both clocks would be shut off until both clocks are operable. And I think everybody has been in a gym where the PA announcer has had to count down the last 10 seconds because the shot clocks have not worked. Here's the one thing.
I've never been in the gym for that, so that's new to me.
Oh, I have. I've actually been to PA before when that has happened. Here's the one that did not pass. Brian, where did I find it at?
They changed the quarters. That's what they should have changed. They changed from halves to quarters.
Okay. In consideration, the decision last month, the NCAA basketball committee had conversation about ways to continue in this direction in the coming years, which includes positive momentum for moving the men's game from halves to quarters. The committee realizes there are hurdles to implementing the quarter format to the game.
Hurdles.
Here's the hurdle, Brian.
Hurdle.
I'm glad you asked that question.
Every other level of men's basketball plays in quarters.
But Brian, every level of men's basketball don't have the money tied to it that NCAA does because they have to figure out how to restructure media timeouts to accommodate the commercials. Once they figure out, listen to me, Brian. Once they figure out how to do the media timeouts,
why can't they do what the women? The women use media timeouts, Drew.
Brian, here's the difference. Women have 7 media timeouts per game. Men have 9. That is 2 minutes, a minimum of 2 minutes per timeout. That's 4 minutes of ad inventory that they are losing. They have to figure out a way to put those additional 2 timeouts, one in the first half, one in the second half, and maintain the flow of the game. Once they figure that out, Brian, it's over.
How long are media timeouts, Drew?
Usually a minimum. It depends on it. If it's a regular contest with just like school media, they're a minute and 15 seconds. If it's a national broadcast, media timeouts are anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes. 2 to 2.5 minutes.
So we're talking. So I'm doing math here. Take the 2 minutes. We'll call it 2 minutes. Slice it up and put it in those other minutes. So now the other timeouts, instead of them being a minute and a half or 2 minutes, now they're 2:30. Or, I mean, you have 3 minute timeouts in football. You can do a 2.5 minute timeout for media timeout in basketball. This is not hard to do. If that's the only excuse, that's bull. Because all you can do is because it's 2. The difference between what women have is 7, men have 9. All you have to do is take those 2, slice them up, and distribute them into the other 7. Drew, it's not hard. It's not hard.
It sounds simple, but them folks want their time out.
Oh my God.
Because Brian, the thing is, if you add those minutes, that's more time for people to turn away. So that's why they're structured the way they are. They have to figure out how to chop it up. Right now, for those who don't know, in a women's game, a media timeout occurs the first dead ball under the 5-minute mark in every quarter, unless a team calls a timeout before the 5-minute mark, and that becomes the media timeout. So if you think about it, you got a timeout at 5, quarter break, timeout at 5. Those are your first half media timeouts. In the second half, first call timeout by either team, timeout under 5, quarter break, timeout under 5 in the fourth quarter. Those are your 7 media timeouts. Men's basketball, we know timeouts occur first dead ball every 4 minutes. So at the 16, 12, 8, and 4-minute mark. In both halves, plus in the second half, the first call timeout by either team turns into a media timeout. Therefore, your 9 timeouts. And if you chop it into 10 minutes, Brian, men's timeout would be at the 4 and the 2 at the first quarter. You know, it's kind of tough. Nobody wants a timeout with 2 minutes left in the first quarter, Brian. So they've got to figure out how to strategically chop up those timeouts.
I don't see. It's ridiculous. Okay. You have a model. It's not like they're, I know it's 2 extra timeouts, Drew, but again, 2 extra timeouts is really 4 extra minutes that needs to be divvied up over 7 other breaks.
What's going to wind up happening with this, Brian, especially with the money involved in this, they will actually add another timeout probably into this, or 2. You may go something like the 7 and the 3-minute mark, 6 and 3-minute mark of each quarter, 6 and 3, 6 and 3, which is fine in the first half. That still gives you your 4 in the first half. That actually gives you 5 in the first half because you got your quarter break also. So that would give you 5 in the first half. Same thing in the second half. And then possibly your first call timeout. I could see them actually adding in additional timeouts to try to accommodate this and making the game longer.
Jesus. Instead of moving the game forward or going backwards, Drew, it's going backwards.
It's all about ad.
I know.
It's
that's exactly what I'm saying. All about the money, and that's a shame. That's a shame.
Yeah. Let's pick up the show and get out of here, man.
All right. I want to thank everybody for hanging in with us tonight. We appreciate you. We love you. We respect you. Do us a favor. Make sure you're following us on all of our platforms. You see at the top of the screen on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube. More importantly, what you don't see on there that I need you guys to go follow is the BCSN Pod Zone, everywhere that you listen to podcasts. That's Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Go check us out. Make sure to download, rate, review, subscribe, and share the streams with your friends and family. Hopefully, all of you had a great Father's Day. It's a little late for me to hit Papa John's up, but I think I got something in the fridge I can throw in an air fryer. But want to thank everybody. Hit the thumbs up and the like button on your way out the door. Thanks for hanging in there with us tonight. Appreciate all of your comments and your interactions in the chat room. That's going to do it for tonight. Let's have a great week, everybody. For AD Drew.
SWAC meetings this week. Pay attention for some news.
Ooh, yeah. Pay attention to some news, especially maybe regarding house settlement news.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with the basketball schedule.
All right. Oh, and so football media days. We know three conferences have their football media days already planned. SWAC, SIC, the MEAC. Just waiting on that other conference, waiting on the CIAA to tell us what they're going to do. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. That's going to do it for tonight. For AD Drew, I'm Brian Fulford. We look forward to seeing you next Sunday, 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 Central, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Peace out, everybody.
Travel light, everybody. Mahalo.